It's the intergalactic soul, the honorable brother, the revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
What's up? Welcome to Powerbombshells 147. I am Mel. That is Sam. That is Keela Cash. And we are three broads talking about the wrestling we like. I'm saying it like that today, wrestling. So I'm allowed to. And here's my funny hat. What's up, ladies? How's it going?
It's great. Nikki was close. She said that you probably wear a knitted hat or something very warm and cozy. And I think she pretty much nailed it.
She actually didn't. It is warm and cozy.
See,
I was saying that off air to these guys that during Prime Days, the one thing I did take advantage of was cheap hats. I'm not gonna lie. They had a ton of cheap hats during Prime Days, so I went for it. And
as you should.
And I will wear most. There's virtually no hat that I buy that I wouldn't wear to either festival or just to the brewery or whatever anyway.
So you don't have Powerbombshell specific hats is what you're saying?
I will wear all of I love having seasonal and specific to the thing hats and those tops. And then my friend Chris, she was because she was wearing these cool hats. I'm like, where'd you get them? She's the one that turned me on to the Hallmark store, as we talked about before. And they have excellent, right. And you go at the end of the season and you get excellent clearance hats and soft, warm stuff. And then, so that's support your local Hallmark store. They are chains and they are locally owned. They are, franchise.
Yeah, it's weird. I think our only Hallmark, or at least the one that I know of, is at one of the malls. That's technically in the next. I mean, it's not really that far outside of Charlotte, but it's technically the next town over. I think that's the only Hallmark. That's the only one I know of that's still open. We used to have one really close by, and a couple of the other malls used to have them, but they don't anymore.
We're in a really small community, but the next door to us town that we lived in, our condo where we started out, that town has the Hallmark store, and it's awesome. And the ladies there are great, and we really enjoy it. And it brings me back to the good old days when my grandma I know that people made fun of this, but my grandma was a Hummel collector. She was
really
one of those ladies. She had so many. There are I don't know which kid has a hold of that stuff right now.
Right.
My mom.
Yeah.
Somebody is sitting on a freaking Deus Ex Machina amount of money's worth of Hummels. You bring them out at the end and it was I found this collection of Hummels and now you're rich.
Right.
At the end of the movie.
And then it's in the will, you inherited this collection.
I swear.
And that's your investment.
Tended these things. I mean, she was hardcore. South Park made an episode about it somewhere along the line, and I was like, oh my gosh, my grandma wasn't the only one.
There's probably a lot more than we realize that we're collecting those things. And there's probably sitting on it. And then there's the people that probably just made you get rid of them or whatever, and now they're all on eBay for an insane amount of money.
Keela, you collect Hummels, right? I mean, you seem like a Hummel collector.
No, I'm not, actually. I'm not.
I'm totally kidding. You don't. That's my GH connection. My grandma who collected Hummels is also my grandma who got me into GH. That was her stories.
See,
those were her. That was her don't miss stories. You did not bother grandma. It was on at 3:00. I remember in the afternoon.
It was on 3:00 for a very long time, and now it's 2:00. It's been 2:00 for the last few years. They took that away from us.
You did not bother grandma during that 3:00 hour.
No, not between the 3:00 for GH and Oprah at 4. That's the two things you don't do.
That's what That's what I was watching. I not even Don't Bother Grandma, Don't Bother Me. That's what I was doing from 3 to 5 every day, was watching General Hospital and Oprah.
Yeah, I mean, I would always do the crossover thing just because she was on next. So it was like you watched because you watched. That was like where I discovered some of the like Dr. Phil. God,
The exposure of
God.
the worst doctors ever.
That was
I
like
know,
back
Dr.
then. That was
Phil.
like
New to us.
90s, early like mid 90s. Like,
She used to have so many great things, and then
she started doing
introduced to Dr. Oz and Dr. Phil.
Lord.
That's right. Okay, there's so many people in popular culture today that literally were on Oprah's show back then.
Yes, and
It
got
was
talk
because of
shows.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, they did get talk shows, and then that led to them. Apparently, some of them might be getting spots in the presidential cabinet. Thanks, Oprah.
Thanks a lot. If you only knew what portal from hell you were opening 20 years ago.
Right.
Simpsons predicted everything, and they didn't do it on purpose. Like all of it. And it's funny
what did
because
you
they
promised
dropped
in order to make us open that portal of hell. What did you promise them? Jesus.
And they just dropped that Jerry Springer documentary, and
I haven't seen it, but I
I'm
heard about it.
I'm so it's on Netflix. And
Yeah.
I'm so torn because the freak show loving 90s kid in me wants to kind of like go watch like someone document like that, do like a document, like it's a documentary on that and that culture and what it did, because it did change. It changed America, like the way we treat each other. It changed the way that what we value. It's changed so much. It
changed like the reality TV landscape. It like was started the reality TV landscape. Like even, I mean, obviously there was Real World that I think really obviously played a huge factor in that after the first season. But I think that it was just the timing with the Jerry Springer show, like the both of them together kind of changed things completely. And then they realized, oh, we can have reality TV and make a lot of TV shows for really cheap and make a ton of money off of it, which, you know, that's what happens in capitalism.
wrestling. And wrestling.
But yeah, wrestling goes hand in hand.
It does. It kind of it's like, but wrestling's been doing that because it's wrestling. In those places,
Right.
like we're trying to make it legitimate, and it's like, no, this is shoot, and it's like, no, it's not though. But it isn't. Like,
right. Well, and like we always say, wrestling is a reflection of society. And that is definitely a reflection of society, is the things
I think
that
they both combined those two things, like Jerry Springer and Oprah, kind of maybe were these Illuminati theories seem more plausible all the time. The crazy ones, like, you know, they opened the portal to hell stuff, and lizard people, of course, because that one's true. We all know that one's true.
obviously.
I'm sorry, lizard people. You got to say it right. So anyway, that was Conspiracy Corner here on Powerbomb.
We just dipped in a little bit.
We are starting out 2025 the same way we left 2024 because we are consistent. I'm proud of it.
We need to get Mike Gilbert on the show. He's getting ready to move to my neck of the woods.
I know. I can't wait until he's on East Coast
So I'm
time.
gonna be like, you're just gonna have to drive up, and you're just gonna have to come over, and we're gonna just talk about. We'll have to have Conspiracy Corner, a whole episode of Conspiracy Corner.
He can't see once he's on East Coast time. He can no longer dodge any of us.
This is true. This is
once
true.
Once you're on ET, dude. It's all you can't use your kids, and it's 4 a.m. and all of this other bananas, this real life stuff that's so important. Of course, I'm kidding. For those of you who need the disclaimer, I am giving out to Mike Gilbert. He's wonderful. It's always nice to us. And
he posted the other day. I posted a picture of Miley with snowflakes on her, and he's like, "Where is this?" And I was like, "In Charlotte." And he was like, "Hell yeah!" And I was like, "Yes, you will have seasons here, like unlike Hawaii, who I think just has one season year round. I mean, sometimes it rains and sometimes it gets like a little chilly for Hawaiians, but when you move over here, you will have 4 seasons, and some seasons last a really, really long time."
Winter has been crazy this year. It it decided to arrive finally, and it has arrived with a vengeance.
It has.
Weather.
Mhm.
We got to talk about the weather.
Yeah, because we have to have what we've had: Hallmark corner, conspiracy theory corner, weather minute.
It kind of ties into some of the stuff we're going to talk about later.
Sheila, do you have anything that you need to add? You have a little minute rant or something you need to add to this?
No, I am good. I like the fact that we just threw it back to the 90s, a time where it was great to be alive in America, a time of mess, height of entertainment, where everything from talk shows to wrestling was truly a gimmick. I love that for us.
Yeah.
Can we go back?
Can we go back in a time machine?
And let's go take the Wayback Machine into the 90s, please.
I think it that because of the kayfabe versus shoot generation stuff that went on during then. I think that did change our perspectives a lot. I think that that's had a massive on our generation's crossovers. I'm a weird one because my timeline, I don't fit. Some of the subculture sociologists call me a zennial, so I'm like, but my attitude is apparently Gen X, but my experience is millennial. So
I think we are kind of in that fine line of for some of us, depending on when we were born, it is kind of because we were in between.
Yeah, you still use analog stuff.
Right. And that's why I've seen this tweet come up. I mean, because obviously people recycle popular tweets, but it's kind of the thing, they were saying that we are less susceptible to fall for scams and basically get got on the internet because we grew up with we were already doing pre-internet, we were playing outside and
we were already
our entertainment. And so we grew up with internet and we were constantly told, hey, double check your facts. Don't use Wikipedia as your only source. Don't use Wikipedia as a source at all. Source your information and all this stuff. And so they were saying that they think that's why but somehow the older generation and then the one behind, I guess the one behind us are a little bit more, but they were saying that's why they think it's harder generally for our age group to get that brainwashed into certain things because we know what to look for because that's what we were taught when we were using the internet is the internet is the Wild West. We don't know what's out there, use common sense and things like that, where other generations, either they were older and didn't really use the internet a whole lot outside of work and things like that, and then there's the generation after us who they obviously all they know is the internet, and that's what that was their, not that they didn't watch, don't watch TV and movies and things like that, but the internet was always there and has been there from basically the minute they were born and they were getting posted on social media.
It's a streamlined version of it. It's the streamlined internet.
Yeah.
I mean, right. I'm old enough that we had a thing where you just reached out is anybody online? That was it. It was
right.
That's how old I am. I almost pre-internet or early internet, where logging onto the internet was something that you could do from your game systems. It's a hack that gamers, retro gamers especially, where we used to know that you could use your I think it was the original Nintendo system had a jack for the original you could download podcast files on the internet as far back as the 80s.
Wow.
So podcasting, for all these people who we invented it, it's it was actually people would download files on to the web into the 80s and 90s, and people could just access that. And so when I went to college, that was kind of what we had. And we had an intranet on college campus as well. So you had the extranet, which was the big wide web. And then inside the school, there was an internet, a fiber network that you could have listservs on, which if you're old enough to know what a listserv even is,
Right.
and bulletin boards, the old school ones, but it was just literally like you were reaching out into cyberspace and hoping to like hook somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And
you were looking for your little green dot.
And then I remember when like America Online came in and started streamlining it, and everybody got, You Got Mail was like the thing, and oh my gosh, like,
and having to use a disc.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I had a word processor. Processor.
Not the disc with the 45-day free trial, and you had to use your mom's phone line to hook into your laptop, and then you couldn't use the phone while you was on the internet while you was running your RAM. This actually happened, y'all. They scammed us for years with that disc. It came in the mail for free. Run it, dial up.
And if your mama's on the phone, mama got to use the phone. And you have to get off the internet.
That's right.
Mama got to call her sister. Quit looking at stuff online.
I remember.
And you'd hear the phone pick up, and you'd hear
the internet
noise. Pick up the phone, and you'd hear the internet. You'd hear that sound,
like a fax noise. There's the internet noise.
Yes,
get off the internet.
I need to call my sister. Get off. Need to call your aunt, see what time she's coming over.
Yes, get off the internet for 5 minutes. Okay, Mom, let me disconnect the modem from the thing. And then, okay, are you done calling? Can I plug it back in? Yes, dear. Yes. And now take it out promptly at 9 o'clock and cut the phone back on.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It's so right.
Brad said, I'm so old that in order to change the channel on my TV, I had to get up and walk over to that 13-inch box and turn a knob.
With you?
Yes.
Did you get yelled at for turning it too fast, Brad? Bob and I love to talk about how he used to do the like, and like his grandpa and my dad would be like, don't do that, you gotta break the knob.
I used to have a really old TV for a really long time that was in my bedroom, and like I would have to bang the side of it to get sometimes the picture would jump when you would first turn it on, and I'd have to like beat the side of my TV to get it to play. And I did that for a very long time. And then we were those people that you could watch when pay-per-views used to come on. You could turn it on like channel 99 and you could hear the audio, and every little bit you get a flash of the screen, and you'd see like the referee's hand come down or something like that. Yes. But you could hear, but Nikki and I used to listen to pay-per-views all the time.
Girl, that was the way to live, because you like back in the early 2000s that the scramble got a little bit better. Yeah, and that the picture got a little bit clearer and you could see a little bit more. That was the way to live if you couldn't pay for a pay-per-view back in the day. Like you could hear everything but couldn't see a thing. That's how I lived in the early days. And then not only that, if you had like regular TV, not only did you get to change the channel, you had to adjust the antenna.
Yes, thank you. I was just gonna say my first TV had an antenna. Like it had a big old... So my sister got like a new age TV even though she was younger. She's like 5 years younger than me. This is a case of the older child got away with nothing and the younger child got away with everything. So it was like I wasn't allowed to watch an R-rated movie until I was like 16, and my sister, who's 5 years younger, watched with us. So logic, that's my parents. So that's just a little peek inside of the logic that I was dealing with at the time.
Brad said that he did confirm that, yes, I got yelled at for putting a magnet on the TV and making it forever change colors. I was 6 and wanted to know what happened. He said that TV shows stopped airing after midnight, and we got the U.S. flag and national anthem telling us shows were over for the night.
Yep. I remember that. It would go off the air. I remember that too.
Wait, apparently Nikki said, when I used to get mad at Samantha because she was being a sassy teen, I'd pick up the phone and mess up the internet. Can confirm. I can confirm this. And Brad says it's just evil. It is evil. Especially
I have a sibling. We had similar contrasting issues with such things. If she wanted the internet and I wouldn't get off the internet, she would do that to me.
I mean, I did that to Nikki a few times because she did it to me.
Siblings
So I mean,
do that crap. To
we
each other.
do. I mean, listen, when there's one computer.
And my dad was like, never, ever, 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 ever going to get a second phone line. He was like, my dad didn't even get like we were the last kids. My dad was so cheap. Like, we were the last kids to get a VCR because he didn't want to buy a lesser expensive one. He wanted to buy the one he wanted, but he'd want to wait till the price comes down. Oh my God. Like, and believe me, it has genetically been passed down to me. And I mean, in some ways it's great, but in other ways it's nuts. It's crazy though, because like I still, because of those TVs, like I got the family's old tube TV when we upgraded to sort of the flat screen, the first flat screens that they had. But I still, because those TVs were like 900 pounds, man. They were like,
those things were, we had one of those.
You needed like
huge.
It was like, and Bob's a big dude, and his best friend, our best man, he was like, we all were living in a house. We bought this big TV, and this is bad. So we did it on a certain day that will live in infamy in September. Because we had been planning, because we all had that day off to go to the TV store and buy the TV that we knew we were going to buy. We had even like put it on hold. So we went ahead and did our American Civic Capitalist duty on that day, which was, we felt was perfect. And it was a just way to carry on. And so, and that TV, it was huge, air quotes, but it weighed, they're two big dudes. They had to like carry it together. Bob like almost hurt himself trying to move it himself. I was like, "Are you nuts? Like, what are you doing?"
Those things were huge. When we finally got rid of ours, we were like, "You have to come get it yourself." Like, we're not.
Yeah, but now we have like a 52-inch like flat screen or some crazy thing like that, and they don't. It's like I still think, because I think in terms of like my brain is like it clicks back into analog, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this thing's gonna weigh like 100 billion pounds." It's like, this thing is so light I can move it around myself, basically. I don't, because I don't want to break it, but it's like, whoa. Like, again, phone, hand computer,
and they would take it way back. Antenna being wrapped in tinfoil.
I had a few of those. Our littlest TV, that was the oldest TV that had the pull out turn on and off button. It was the little metal thing that pulled out and then clicked back in. Some people are like, "What are you talking about?"
And now they have like antennas that you can like basically put on the wall. And they were talking because they're like, I guess because they're digital, but like, because obviously for those of us who still have cable, and they sometimes fight and decide they're not going to show, ABC or NBC or
your
Fox
local sports teams.
They're like, people were like, it might be worth investing into an antenna. And so I was like looking into them, and I was like, I have to do what with all this? I was like, it seems like it's a hassle. Like, I don't know. I was like, at least like with ABC, and like when it was gone, like I could watch General Hospital on Hulu. Like that at least I was like, I need that, but then it would suck for like live sports and stuff. Nikki said that our dad used to come into our rooms and be like, "What are y'all doing?" And we were like, listening to the pay-per-view, and he just laugh and shake his head like, "All right." It was a big deal to us.
Well, they were expensive. I mean, there's no lying about it. And it was not like,
because we weren't buying those.
Well, and back in the day, you had to go get way back. You had to go you actually had to go to the cable company and get a little box that hooked up to your box. For the pay-per-view specifically, that was part of the pay-per-view that you had to pay for the pay-per-view. And then you had to pay for the little box that you had to plug into your cable box. So it would show you the pay-per-view. And then you had a deposit on it that they would only return, because you had to return the little box for the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And it was a different box for every pay-per-view, because that was how they kept them. Because nowadays
rented them to you, basically.
or they can just keep it blocked or firewall or whatever, because it's just easy now. It's like, I think about like our computers clean themselves up. in college, I would have to take time out of my college day to go into my computer, and my uncle was in comms in the Army, so that's where we got all his hand-me-down equipment. We were just super lucky. So we had like Apple IIs in our house.
Nice.
So I knew how to like, that's why I have never switched to that's the reason I will be ride or die PC droid user, is that I need to be able to go inside my own computer, my own self, and patch it myself. I don't need no genius. I don't need to pay them. It makes me cuckoo. Yep, defragging. Exactly. Brad hears me. Brad feels my pain.
Yeah.
It would take, and I would do it like, what I would do, Brad, is do it right before I was going to like my early class. So I would set it up and just click the button and hope that it would keep defragging and nothing would kick it offline. And because you would have to go all the way into the files and dump your cache from when you were on the internet. You had to do that like inside the inside of the inside files. It's like, but it's cool now because like if I download a Steam game and it doesn't work, I just go on the forums with all the other people that are like me, the PC master race, as they've termed themselves. And it's pretty funny. It's pretty over the top. I love it. It's such a running joke with me and my friends. So if any of them are listening, they will get a huge kick out of that. I go on there and it's like, how do I patch this? And they're like, you do this. And so I go into the files and I can do all that myself. So it's like, I fixed it. It's working now.
Note to
I mean,
self,
I am
know
not
when
a
you have
computer
technical
genius
issues.
by any stretch. It makes me sound way smarter than I ever am. Like, I know coders. That's a different language. That should be like Bob had me just read Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson, which was excellent. And that's like, he wrote it in 92 and it was very prescient about where we are today. And it's awesome. And he basically, the term metaverse came from that book. And
thanks for that.
Amazeballs. It's really funny because when you're reading it in the context of 2025 and you lived in 1992 or in the wake of that time frame, you will appreciate on a level that because if you're a nerd about this stuff like we're talking about, you will highly appreciate like what goes on there. Everything about it will actually make you kind of, it's amazing. Like he called it. It's very like cyberpunk sci-fi, but it's awesome. I would love to see a movie, but also would hate to see a movie because I don't think anyone could do it justice. Right. It's one of those kinds of books. It's a quick read. Excellent. But everything we're talking about, like, it's like Hackers in a book. Excellent. Like, I love Hackers. It's a guilty pleasure type of deal. Right. Like, I love Hackers. It's one of my favorite, like, nerdy 90s hack the planet, man. But this is like the real, like, he got it like more seriously right with the same vibe.
Okay, so, got it.
It was
it sounds really good. It sounds really fascinating, especially for like our demographic.
And it's a classic sci-fi book, so you know, you'd also feel like,
right up your alley.
I mean, I think all of us here in this chat would end up being, and it would make you look like super smart because like you'd be in a conversation with someone, and they'd be like, "Oh, you read that book?" And you'd be like, "Yeah, I did. I read.
Hey, let me add that to my.
I read. I comprehend. I even have opinions." And
wait a minute. Listen, don't go too far now.
I don't get hysterical.
Are you sure about that?
Quick beef with the word hysterical or hysteria in general, because I've been going through some girl things. Why do they call everything fill in the blanks?
Because what? Because a bunch of men made those words. Sorry, men who are watching.
Hey, Latin, you suck. And I'm like, actually, it was kind of funny because joke's on you, Latin. My entire surgical team, except for one of my nurses and my surgeon, all girls.
My
Eat it.
doctor's office is now, my doctor that I went, she switched to a new location and it's all women there.
My male nurse was awesome. He was cool. Robert, he was fantastic.
I had a male nurse for my
Wonderful dude. but-
first surgery, I think. Well, at the
Well-
beginning, he was like doing the intake questions and bless him. It
Yeah.
was like the end of his shift, and they kept coming in, like other people kept coming in and like doing stuff to me and interrupting him, and he was just like, I just want to get through my questions so that I can go home. Like, I would like to go to sleep now. I mean, he was very nice. He wasn't rude to me at all and was not trying to rush me, but they kept
No, yeah.
interrupting him. And I was like, can y'all just let him ask me the questions so that he can go home? He's been here for 12 hours. Like,
These
his
people work
alarm,
hard.
his alarm went off to go. He's like, that's my alarm to clock out. He ended up in there for like another 15 minutes. Poor guy. He was awesome though.
Those people are like, again, this very special group of people. And I just loved it. It was like, yeah, hysteria this. She is hyster awesome. One of my best. Like, it's crazy. I have so many ladies. Like, my best doctors, my specialists. Like,
Mhm.
I have almost all ladies now. It's
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
My eye doctor, who is like superstar eye doctor and a superstar at we have Kellogg Eye Center here. They're like
Mhm.
world renowned. She's like one of the top neuro ophthalmologists.
Uh-huh.
She is crazy awesome. She's just like so cool. It's like you would never. It's like this woman is a rock star, and she'll talk to you like a normal human. Like
I
I
love
just
that.
I love putting over doctors that treat their patients like patients because
Me
there's
too.
a lot that don't. And
Yeah,
I always love
knock on
that.
wood, have been very lucky to have a very good team.
It's it was one of my things though. I was like, all right, I think we need to change the names of these. It would be too confusing, but cheapers. Every time I come in here with the hysteria thing. So I got to make jokes about it. I love making, when someone, because boys sometimes don't, we just get excited and they think that we're getting like, and I'm like, I'm not getting hysterical. It's okay.
Let's get hysterical about wrestling. I think we should
Yes.
do that.
We should, because actually there's some things to talk about. We can get angry hysterical, and then we can get excited hysterical.
You will see the full spectrum of hysteria as a wrestling fan.
Also, in closing on that one, also the name of my favorite Def Leppard album, which
Yes,
was
Hysteria.
the first concert I ever went to when I was 10 years old.
Nikki listened to that album. I think Hysteria was the one. I'm sure she'll
And
tell
she
you.
Armageddons it.
She does Armageddon. Did you watch the VH1 movie that they made about them?
No, I should.
Oh my God. Nikki and I have watched that movie so many times. I mean, she's watched it, I think, more than I have. But VH1 did a movie about them, like in the, I guess, maybe it was early 2000s, because it was like, obviously, because VH1 was doing like the behind the
Yep.
music things. And so they eventually, I guess, because that one was really popular, they made it
It
into
was so
the movie, and the movie is really good.
Oh
Nikki
my
said,
gosh.
oh, sorry. She had The Vault, which is the greatest hits. That's right. It just has a lot of songs from Hysteria on it.
Hysteria, Pour Some Sugar on Me was their biggest hit, obviously.
Of course. Yeah.
And
Maybe Tony
Pyromania
Khan
was
will switch from after
Pyromania,
he's done
their
with
first
Guns N'
album.
Roses.
Pyromania was their first album, was great. It came before me. Hysteria just hit at the right time, but I was 10 and they actually came because it was really rare because I lived in Maine.
Yeah.
So, and they
Right.
would only come as far north as where the place is called Old Orchard Beach, which is essentially right near where all the Richies own Maine.
Mhm.
It's all around that area.
Of course. So they were going
So
to
it's
people
the
who could pay.
southeastern coastal, and I am in a town where I grew up, was a town that's like a suburb of that area, essentially.
Gotcha.
So I know where the Bushes stuff is.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Bob and I drove to Bangor for his mother to take pictures of Stephen King's house.
Listen.
It's been
Get
there.
it?
Yeah, gargoyles. It's great. All right, whatever. But my point being that they came that far north, and my mother brought me. I was like crazy, and the people there were so cool. They flipped over a garbage can, and they were like the old barrels.
Uh-huh.
and had me standing up there so I could actually see over everyone because it was a baseball stadium, outdoor baseball stadium that I saw them at.
Very cool.
And it was the best. And I had such a crush on Joe Elliott, their lead singer. So it was.
Yeah, Nikki said that she loved that movie. That's how she started listening to them. She said that movie used to make her sad. It was sad. They had
because the story of the drummer is really like
but there were some other stories. If I remember right, there's some other stories just with them as a band too. But the stuff with the drummer was really sad. And I saw like I think it was like a week or two ago that it has been like 40. I think it's been like 40 something years since he lost his arm or something like that. I think they're
like still touring because they came here and I genuinely considered it.
They come here. It seems like they don't come here I think they come here every tour. I think
they're a big. Detroit's a great city for those because Detroit did help obviously the music scene quite a bit, and it's
of course
obviously both in the butt rock and the Motown is here. I mean,
of course,
it's a little bit of a deal, but they so a lot of concerts like tour big bands like that come through here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sucks that Neil Peart is no longer among us because I read that Geddy Lee autobiography and in retrospect, I'm like, God, I wish I had liked Rush sooner because I would have gone to see. But I love now that you can do the things on the internet where like you can do one of these days I'll get myself to like Alex and Geddy are hanging out and doing music again. And so they might, he's teased it like a few times.
Oh, nice.
But I would love to see like that is the one time I would like drop that money at the Vegas like thing and go. It'd be if like they did a like virtual experience thing with them.
That would be cool.
Yes, and the guitar player. Yep. That's right. They went through a lot. And that was a wild time because all of those bands, I think it's so funny because remember all of our parents were like making fun of them because they look like girls. And it was like, yeah, they may look like girls, but they're getting way more you know what than you are. And
1,000%.
like, so what you see, because that was the time when women were like, those documentaries about the groupies on VH1 were like
insane.
And you knew what was going on, even at my age. I was like smart enough because pop culture, by the time the 80s was over, pop culture was on its way to being the 90s and the early aughts. So
right.
Again, that's the whole answer to our original point, which was we are less likely to get scammed. So grandma and mom and dad and auntie and uncle, if you're going to click on that, call me or your grandkids or your nieces and nephews first.
Right.
Find the youngest person in the room before you click that link. Yeah. If it's a 6-year-old, it doesn't matter. They will know not to click that link. In fact, they may know how to block that link entirely from ever being on your phone again.
Yes.
So, and I have friends who have testimonials on socials where they're like, I was talking to my dad and I said, is my niece there? My 9-year-old niece there? Yes, put her on. This is what we need to do with grandpa's phone.
Listen, you just got to help them out.
I just love that it's like the kids. It's like my niece. She'll be 13 this year. Yikes. And it's like, Matilda, fix this for me. Okay, here you go. My younger pals are always like, Mel, you have a camera on your phone. Why don't you take a picture of it? I started using that trick. It saved me. I brought my wedding invitation virtually.
Oh, nice.
I remember the kids in my life telling me to take a picture. Literally, it'll last longer.
Well, thank goodness they reminded you.
Thanks, kids. I love you. That's why I love you in my life.
All right. Yes, we have some comments about how this was an excellent week in wrestling.
It sure was. Let's talk about it.
Yes. And hold on. Before we move on, Brad says, I'm so computer illiterate that if I need something fixed for anything, I just go to YouTube and there's a video for it. Yeah, sometimes I go to YouTube for certain things.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
If there's no children around, I immediately type in, I literally type in exactly what I need done. Like, Why isn't my this Samsung printer doing this? Like I word for word will type it right in there.
Yes. Okay. We're really going to talk about wrestling now.
Yes, we are.
So this week started out with the big Raw debut on Netflix. It was much hyped, and it was a lot. It was in LA. There were celebrities galore. There was a very dramatic cold open, and they didn't want anybody to see the ring, like, because one of the pictures of the ring leaked, and it had like all the sponsors on it, and so they didn't want they were trying to be very careful, and so they had like curtains up around it. Then the curtain drops and Paul Levesque is in the ring. There's the pyro, because this man, they must have just had to like drag him kicking and screaming to be on Netflix, because he said, I don't want to be on TV. Like I keep finding my way on TV. I really don't want to be here. But if you're gonna put me on TV, I need a lot of pyro, please. I need you to blow the pyro budget for me. Because we have Netflix money now.
Yes. And it was apparent they had Netflix money on Monday, because he said, get me out here. Let me pose like Michael Jackson at the Super Bowl. Let me stun on him. Give me pyro, more pyro than a WrestleMania pyro. Whoa. Let me stand here. Let me absorb it. And let me get my cheers. I laughed. I did, because it was so much.
It was like that. This was a 3-hour show, and it was basically a 3-hour commercial for Netflix and the celebrities who they brought in. Like they had a little bit of, I think there was 4 matches total, but this show, and people kept telling me, because it was a struggle to get through this show for me, and people were like, well, this show wasn't for you. It was for the people who haven't watched Netflix since The Rock and Triple H at WrestleMania. It's for them.
I'm sorry, it's not for the people who've been watching it loyally.
No, I think. Well,
am I understanding that correctly? Is that their stance is that for the loyal viewership that they've had for umpteen bazillion
that's
years?
Next week. That's tomorrow night's episode, apparently.
That was for. I'm okay. That's an interest. That's a choice.
They were like, no, this is for. They tried to say this is for the people who who watch Netflix regularly. Like, oh, Raw's on. I haven't watched this in 15 years. Let's click this on. No, actually, what it was, or at least from my point of view, was a big pat on the back for WWE to be on Netflix, and it was a party for Netflix, because The Rock made, so after we get Paul Levesque finally drag him out of the ring, here comes Dwayne. Slowly, Undertaker walking to the ring. They did get the really cool shot to show you that I guess they're in 4K now. You could see little goosebumps on his arm. Like, they got a really cool shot. I'll give them that. They did have that. And of course, it's already memed now, because
I'm sorry,
it's
that
2025
sounds like
and that's what
an
we do.
E3 presentation, not a wrestling show. Are they like trying to sell a video game, or like are they doing cutscenes now?
They hinted at a video. They did a video game reveal within the show.
Of course they did.
They sure did. They said 2K25 is coming.
They sure did. On a door.
Is it coming in 4K?
No, it was like
4K.
on a door, and there's a sign. They did.
Can someone film me rolling my eyes in 4K UHD? Because
so The Rock finally gets out there, and he's like, hell yeah, this is Netflix, I can cuss. Which apparently he did the next night. He showed up he went to NXT the next night. Apparently forgot that he's on the CW and was dropping F-bombs. Like, I saw the clip of him dropping F-bombs because he forgot his lines. And in his NXT promo, he forgot his lines. And people said that he got his promos mixed up. Like, he forgot which one was the Raw one and which one was next. Like, he forgot what he was doing. And then so he just started dropping F-bombs and talking about when he was, what was it, Flex Cavana, and how that was like the worst fucking character. So I don't know, just like dropping an F-bomb. It was crazy. But so anyway, back to Raw with The Rock. So he makes sure to name check multiple Netflix executives show them on the big screen for everybody to see. Then they, of course, all night long, different celebrities. I will say my biggest pet peeve with that is we got Danielle Fishel, who we all know. Topanga is a big wrestling fan. Eric Matthews sitting right next to her, Will Friedle. Didn't put his name on the screen. He's in the shot with her. Didn't mention him. Nothing. Then we get, but later on Twitter, we got our social media, we got a clip with New Day and them, and they said Will Friedle's name that time. They didn't forget him. But I was like, he's literally in the shot with her, sitting right next to her. Everybody else, when they're like, look who's here, and you're telling both people in the shot. No, I guess nobody knows who Eric Matthews is.
Rude. I said, poor Will. I said, show Will some love. That was my crush back in the day.
Right. Same.
Come on.
Big same. Love him. Very annoyed with that.
Me too.
Macaulay Culkin, though, he understood the assignment.
Oh my God. The
he had
reveal.
His head dropped down and his hat said Papa, and then he did he popped his head up right at time. Macaulay Culkin comes across the screen. He understood the assignment and got the
biggest pop.
Yeah, he got a huge pop.
He did. And then I found out later in the show, Kieran was there too. All the Culkins were there. Yeah. They were sectioned out throughout the arena.
Right.
What in the world?
Yeah, they did the Kieran thing. Yeah, because there was the clip of CM Punk talking to him. I guess because they had moved Kieran down to the front row. And he was like, didn't you just win an award? And he was like, yeah, I just won a Golden Globe last night. This is how I celebrate. But yeah, they didn't have Kieran.
Is he in that he's
Kieran is actually acting now. Macaulay hasn't done anything in he hasn't.
No, I know.
He doesn't need to, but yeah.
I unfortunately know a little too much about Macaulay than I ever wanted to. But Kieran, what did he win a Golden Globe for? What is
Succession? I think.
Oh, okay, all right. I guess I should check that show out.
Yes. So he won that, but yeah, I guess
I don't know if I can handle that because it's too real.
I've heard that it's based. A lot of people, wrestling people that I know, say WWE's office is very the things that we know about the office is very similar to Succession.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I've heard.
I don't know if I can handle that or not. It's like when I was watching that the show with Kevin Spacey in it. That the
House of Cards.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that one was a little because I had lived in the DC area and there was some stuff, especially in the first season, that was a little too real. And then what was going on politically, I was like, I can't.
No, I don't blame this. Well, and then we found out all the things we found.
And then,
out
of course, that was pre-revelations about which really back in the 90s, I saw him on Broadway in a show with Tony Danza and Paul Giamatti.
Wow.
It was a Eugene O'Neill play called The Iceman Cometh. My sister and I begged a friend of my mom's to get pre-auth on her because she had an American Express. We gave her the money and everything to try and get good seats. And we went that was our first trip to Manhattan and Broadway, and it was 3 hours with 2 intermissions or something, but it was our speed theater. It was amazing. And we got to actually chat with those people after Faye Dunaway, someone pushed, she was there outside the stage door. And someone actually because they saw her, they pushed into her. And when they did, they pushed her into me.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, oh my God, rude. And I was and she was profusely apologizing. I was like, oh, don't be sorry. Totally. So, I helped her. And then as I became a screenwriting in the studio, I was that more and more. I was like, oh my God, I caught her. Someone pushed her into me. But then he came out, and my sister had an interaction with him that I'm not going to talk about because but it sucked. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's in retrospect, you're God dang you, because they funded that themselves. There's a lot of the rumors were that he did Negotiator, which was kind of a fluffy film to basically get the money to fund that because no one wanted necessarily to do it, but it ended up selling because the 3 hours with 2 intermissions of live theater
Yeah.
That's a slog for most people. That
For
is
sure.
not like normal live theater. Most people want
Right.
to see Wicked or no, I'm not slagging on that. That's
Right.
awesome. Those are great films, like or plays. I love that live theater continues. I don't care in what format, because I'm a
Right.
live theater nerd. That's where I started doing nerdy stuff. Like that would, I mean, so it's, but yeah, it makes me mad. It makes
I
me
understand.
angry.
I mean, between Me
Sure.
Too and speaking out, like it's
Yep,
it's a lot.
exactly. That's, I mean,
Um,
and it's, I mean, that kind of like speaks to sort of some of the stuff, because like what you guys are talking about. But anyway, back to Netflix.
but yeah, so and Maria brought oh wait, not that one. The comment moved.
I'm sorry about that. I
That's
should
okay.
repeat
Maria
that.
was saying that it's a little disappointing that The Rock dropped everything with Cody after everything that happened between them. Yeah, so The Rock, like, after he, makes sure that everybody from Netflix gets their TV moment. He went through, like, they have, of course, so they had different WWE superstars in the crowd, usually people from, there are people from other shows, from SmackDown and from NXT and things like that they shouted out and got their TV time and all that. Well, of course, SmackDown champion, undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes was there. And The Rock's like cool with him and just forgets that entire storyline that they had at the beginning of last year, and how we almost didn't get the WrestleMania match we wanted because The Rock was stepping in, and the fans were like, oh no, we're not we're not taking Cody Roman. The story is, I'm sorry, we're not doing The Rock Roman. Cody Roman is the story. Like, we are not having Dwayne Johnson drop in to take over. And so he's been doing this final boss character. He just seemed to kind of squash it, except for then he made the little remark about "Tell Mama Rhodes I said hello," which is a reference back to their feud. But that feud apparently seems to be squashed for now. The rumor is that The Rock is not going to be at WrestleMania this year. He's got other commitments. And so they were like, well, I guess this was him kind of saying, like, I'm not going to be here. But then some people are convinced that he's going to be number 30 in the Royal Rumble and he's going to win. So, Keela, what are your thoughts on them seemingly dropping that storyline?
I'm just laughing at the fact he got mad the next night on NXT and says, for all of you that said that I was too nice to Cody, now I'm too nice to him. Like, follow the story. I'm 20 steps ahead of you. I know what I'm doing. Enjoy the ride. But dude, you basically said congrats to basically carrying the company on your back. You are the quarterback. I respect you. I salute you. And you basically told the audience, well, I'm not going to be here for WrestleMania this year. That's basically what you said. And
Right.
if you're trying to keep the story alive, I don't know, maybe you shoot an angle to keep the consciousness of the feud front of mind for everybody, but you chose to be the nice, diplomatic board of director, Dwayne Johnson, being the company guy, patting everybody on the back, showing love to Cody, showing love to your cousin, and basically saying, I won't be here at WrestleMania in a wrestling capacity. I'll be here as a corporate cheerleader.
Yeah, that's exactly how I took it. I think most people did too. And so I was like, well, why are you mad? You're the one who gave it away. and another issue that, and somebody brought it up in the Wrestling Inc. We always do a loved hated column, and the hate was, we got Cody. However, the Raw champion, Gunther, not there. We showed a video package of him, or just like a video little promo of him, and we were like, why? In the middle of the show, like, why you don't have your champion here? So it was an interesting thing. And then thank you for letting us know that Kieran actually won a Golden Globe for his supporting role in A Real Pain with Jesse Eisenberg. I didn't watch the Golden. I knew that he won. I had heard, and I just assumed it was for that. So
I didn't realize he was acting on that level. That's kind of awesome for him. I mean,
yeah, I think he has been for a little while.
I don't watch everything.
But he's the more active one now. I mean, I think
that's because Macaulay's got issues.
He's a dad now. He's doing that.
Yeah, and he
but I believe that. But I don't even know that Rory is really. I don't know that Rory is really doing anything.
think Macaulay kind of retired.
And when he did have a wrestling podcast for a while, and then he became a dad, and I think that's kind of like,
I like that better. I think that's better.
What he's focusing on now is that I think he's just focusing on being a dad now. Because if I'm remember correctly, I think does he have 2 kids now? Or is
2
it just
kids.
Oh,
Yeah,
Two.
I thought he has 2 kids. Yeah.
Good. Good.
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
With Brenda
Yes.
Song of all people.
Yes, of all people, like who would have
Of
thought
all
that?
people.
Who?
Brenda
Brenda
Song
Song.
she's a very popular Disney actress from the early 2000s, and
Oh, all right.
was
Well, here we
quite
go.
a surprise when and she actually, if you watch, for people who watch Station 19, she was on there for a little, she had a recurring role on there for a little bit. And I think she's done some other stuff since then, but that's what I've seen her on most recently. But yes, they seem to be very happy. So
That's
Yes.
good.
yes.
And
That's
Macaulay is talking potentially about Home Alone. Potentially.
Oh, good God.
Well, listen, after 3,
I
4,
was gonna
5, and
say
6,
after the third one.
that went straight to DVD. I would like one with adult Kevin with his own children being a shitty dad, leaving his
Is-
child behind.
Yeah,
Being like a potential, like, the only reason, like, let's be real, the only reason those people didn't have CPS called on them is because they were so freaking rich. Because they were so rich that they could take their entire effing family on an airplane to wherever the F all they were going for Christmas. There's like a dozen people going on an airplane on a holiday, and they lived in
And
that
they say
huge
he is
house.
not
They
say
like
he is, that the
leave
dad is
their
not
child. I'm like, as a child care provider, this is like, first of all, I have 2 issues with it, and it's because of my age. So, and you guys will, it's because both of you are like right in this. I think you're both around my sister's age. So it's your fault. You stupid millennials. I blame you. But
listen, he could take
so
care
my
of himself.
sister, because he was the right age, had the biggest crush on him and made me see Home Alone and we had lived in a small town, so there was nothing to do except we would go to the movies all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
She made me go to Home Alone so many times. You don't understand. I'm traumatized. She watches it on Christmas. I'm like, no. I don't think I've watched that movie now, actually, since maybe then.
We went a few years where we didn't watch it, but now we watch it every year. And sometimes, like, because it's on TV so much that sometimes we let it like play in the background while we're doing other things, like on our phones and stuff like that.
That's Jingle All the Way for me.
And then they'll play that, like, but they'll still play Home Alone. Like, they were playing Home Alone like last weekend, I think. Like, they were still showing it like around New Year's Day. They were still showing it. They show it, I think sometimes when they do, it's technically like I think like it'll randomly come on in July. And I'm like, why? Because of Christmas in July. So we'll just randomly pop on Home Alone. But I'm like, you know what? Get your residual check.
Exactly.
No, I
Good
mean,
for
that's
you.
fine.
$dollars.
It's totally
Right.
cool. And I'm glad that he's happy and in a good place, because that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yes,
great
it's
to
very
hear.
good.
And
Yes.
Yes.
it's totally cool. And I mean, I think of it in the Beetlejuice sense, is what it seems to me, if they're going to do something, that's the realm you have to, that's sort of the
I
route you
haven't
have to
seen
go.
the
is
second
that.
one yet.
Okay.
I need to.
So,
I
I
haven't
mean,
watched
I'll just, without spoiling anything, I'll say that it's adult Lydia, which is pretty obvious from the description,
Right.
and her kids. So
Yeah.
it's kind
Yeah,
of the
I knew
same
that.
idea.
Yeah. I saw that. That's what it was pretty much about. But
And my biggest beef with the movie was that I wanted it to be an ending, and I don't believe that it was. So, and I believe that just like everything in corporate America, it's going to end up a franchise. And
oh, I'm sure.
Of course. Yeah.
It took forever for them to get to it.
I
I'm
know.
not surprised that they're gonna do a third one because it took so many years to get a sequel.
it was a love letter. I just wish it was a love letter with a punctuation mark and that's a period, the end. And it was definitely not that. So that's all I'm going to say. It was a lot of fun though. And so if you go that route, but then of course they'll franchise it. So it's going to get everything. America has jumped the shark collectively. So everything is shark jumped at this point.
Yeah. Brad says that Beetlejuice was a fun movie. It was more about seeing the characters again more than anything. The story was fun. I just love seeing the characters again.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It was
I need to
super
see it.
Amberberries. I loved it. It was great. I'm not slagging on the movie. I just what I fantasy booked about the movie, which I should have known better.
You played yourself, is what you're saying.
It's exactly. I know. I know better, just like we talked about earlier. I know better and should have known better. And I did, and it was like, oh no, it's happening. And I was like, of
Right.
course it's happening, Mel. It's you
course.
live in late stage capitalist America.
Right.
Okay.
Speaking of late stage capitalism, we had Hulk Hogan being a come on this episode. Listen, this is that Mel, you set it up perfectly. Hulk Hogan came just to hawk his beer, which is called Real American Beer, because what else is he gonna call it? That's like Hulkamania beer. But he comes out and it's announced before the show that WWE is now a minor investor in Hulk Hogan's beer company because nobody learned anything from Ric Flair and AEW. Nobody learned.
And then in 6 months, the endorsement quietly goes away.
Exactly.
And the logo magically disappears from the mat, replaced by Prime again.
Or Terramana.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Or the Rock, who has no hair. His hair, he has a hair care line.
Yes, he does.
You guys, I was doing a rewatch of Homicide: Life on the Street because they dropped it on Peacock, and I was so excited because I haven't seen it since the 90s, and it's one of my favorite shows from the 90s. Yeah. But it has ads because I refuse to. It comes with my cable, so I have the ad version. And I swear to God, now because I have a flag for it because of the Terramana commercials that are all the F over Peacock, like. Oh my God. I was like sitting at one of our local places and I'm like, there's the Rock's rum or whatever and our tequila. And I was like, oh my God, no.
He also has an energy drink.
Yeah, I know.
Forget what it's called. And I actually had it because when last year when Title Belt ran a show in the summertime and it was 900 degrees outside and 950 degrees inside the building, they had people giving out free samples, and luckily it was a full size like can, and so I was like, hell yeah, it's hot, I'm drinking this. I will say I had the orange one, it's really good, so maybe that gets to be a sponsor too. But yes, so they bring out Nikki said, damn that segue. Listen, Mel set it up and I had to go with it.
I thank you.
She knocked it out the park.
That is
let's clip it. We're gonna clip it. What's your clip for this week?
I did write down. I'm not kidding you. I wrote down the time frame. So.
Perfect. I don't care if they could just clip it for us.
Yeah, right. No, it would be funny though. It's true. It's perfect.
So you have Hulk Hogan coming out with Mouse of South, Jimmy Hart.
Poor Jimmy.
Of course
God bless Jimmy.
But God bless Jimmy. He was caught in the crossfires. Those boos were not for him. So Hulk Hogan gets out. Crowd boos so much that Netflix caption says crowd booing. Like it picked up that much that it like there's a screenshot of it saying crowd booing. Because my man literally, and I got to write, and my editor was like, hey, do you want to write an article about Hulk Hogan getting booed out of the building? I was like, yes, I do. I would love to write that article.
I read it. I'm a lost traveler. I've been on, it turns out like not having an Observer subscription for the first time since I became a hardcore wrestling nerd is left me with like, where do I go for my wrestling news? So I mostly have been like reading your articles and then like finding like I finally subscribed to like posts because I'm like, okay, Brandon Thurston and John Pollock are good. I know they're good because they work with me. I'm like, I'll go to those guys. I'm like wandering the desert for good coverage. And I was like, that's awesome. Mainly because, yeah, they know who you are. Denise Salcedo, I was watching so I didn't watch the actual debut. I watched the live socials. I was watching social media while we were doing other things.
Yeah, apparently
I wasn't feeling well and I didn't want to watch it.
No, I don't blame you. Wrestling
I wasn't that interested, but watching socials react to it and the booing part, and you tweeted about how the crowd and that popped me so hard. He was hawking his beer. here in Richmond. Remember, we talked about this.
Yes, you said it was like at the
because anytime a wrestling thing happens, because all my friends know I like this. I'm sure you guys have this too. Because a wrestling thing happens and it goes mainstream, or something happens in your town, they come straight to you and they tell. So all my friends were like, "Hulk Hogan's going to be at the," because Sal, who owns the party store, he got bumped off Walmart. Said, "We don't want you," and Sal picked him up. So he grabbed that opportunity. That's hilarious. Like, this is a real story here, okay? So I'm sorry if I'm blowing anybody's spot up, but our party store guy, to his credit, good deal, because that's a local store, so it brought in a bunch of business to downtown shops here, and they're all locally owned, so that's great. And he stopped in everywhere, and I heard how nice of a guy Terry was, but yeah, fuck him. But that was the one F-bomb for the show. And
he deserves it.
But it was like it hasn't reached some people, but it has reached the mainstream that he's a racist POS. And but I saw like Denise was the first one who was like, I don't know if this is coming through on TV, but they're audibly apparently, because she tweeted, I don't know if it's coming through on TV, but they're audibly booing him. And I was like, and then you tweeted audience booing, and I was like, this is the best thing in the whole
somebody in my other Slack, I think, clipped it and or screenshot where it said crowd booing, and so that's where I tweeted it from. But like,
they could not happen to a nicer guy.
It literally, they literally booed him out of the building, and from what they said, like, he was surprised. He didn't expect that reaction. Even though the last time he was there, I'm pretty sure they booed him.
Yes, in Tampa at WrestleMania, he got booed.
That's what I thought.
Like, I don't. This is, and he says, "We've got this right here. Where to go? Come back. Where did you go? Here it is. Fernando said it. Very tone deaf by WWE to have Hogan on Raw. That's exactly what you guys are talking
apparently, about. Like, after that, and they said he, like, I guess played it off backstage, but was surprised by the reaction he got. Then there was a talk like a few days later saying that maybe they were going to use that and try to make him work with it, like work as a heel, like not clearly not wrestling but like, I guess work with another heel to help that heel, which I was like, that's not going to help anybody. No. I guess because they are a minority owner into the company. So they're like, we got to do something. But then I have heard that they are, like, yesterday, I think I saw something say they're rethinking how they're going to handle that being a sponsor and what wrestlers they put in it, because there was a clip after that had happened, and it was, they clearly didn't, you could tell Rey Mysterio did not want to be part of it, but they brought him in and they made him try the beer, and he was like, oh, this is good. And he did the side hug, which was, please get me out. Like, as soon as that camera quit rolling, he was probably like, get me the fuck out of here, and don't. So ever
they even threw in a token Latino, like they brought out Rey Mysterio.
Yes, they did.
They did.
God, WWE, they just aren't. They're not even trying, are they?
They're desperate. Care. They're desperate because they stepped in it, and I think they should have just left Hogan alone. I know they wanted a bigger number for Saturday night's main event. I get it. That's why they brought him back for the San Antonio show for advertising purposes. But LA was the clear signal, like, this dude is persona non grata. Do not bring him here in front of live crowds. He would get booed. This isn't just a California situation. This is a fan base nationwide situation where he's going to get booed, and rightfully so. Your audience doesn't want him on the screen. Let it go. Just let it go. You're stuck with the beer, unfortunately. And I feel for the talent who has to hawk the beer, because you're going to be the face of the beer, because he can't be the face of the beer.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. They're going to be put in a no-win situation, but WWE did it to themselves, because I don't know how. I mean, especially, how do you, just overall, I think the perception of Hogan, for, most of us all have the same feeling for him, but like you said, he was literally booed at WrestleMania in Tampa. They didn't.
That's like his home, right? I mean, he's a Florida guy, right?
Yeah. He's in Orlando.
That's Carney. Like, so.
It is. And so like it was just, and you know, it was funny because not only did of course I wrote about it because I cover wrestling, but Variety wrote about it and wrote nearly the same, like a very similar headline to what I wrote, just because and CNN covered it. And apparently WWE was pissed that like that was the big story coming out of Monday night. But I was like, well, but you did it to yourselves. Like you knew how people feel about him, and you're still for whatever reason you're trying to rehabilitate him and his, you know, his character. And it's just like it was very tone deaf of AEW to try to work with Ric Flair, and they had him stay around till Sting retired, and then they just quietly went away because they signed it. They had a 2-year deal with the company who puts out Woo Energy. Like that was a sponsor, and you know,
mushroom drink.
Yeah, they used to have this dumb little can sitting on the commentary table. They had that terrible graphic just hanging out back like behind matches. It was a mess. And then we've had Eddie has brought it up. This comes right on the heels of them announcing that the Rumble is going to be in Saudi Arabia next year.
Oh, I was devastated. Like, why? So this is basically like the consolation prize, because Paul Levesque basically said you'll never get a WrestleMania, but what you can get most likely is a Royal Rumble. And you know the Saudis paid so much money for the Royal Rumble. And at this point, we can't really knock any sports organization because they're going to take the money. Yeah. They're going to take hundreds of millions of dollars. I can't even get mad anymore because I expect it, because you throw that kind of money, who's going to turn it down? Even the most reputable sports organization is going to take that money, unfortunately.
Yeah. Because it's been normalized and it's being presented as, I mean, of course, I don't think any of the corporate people believe it, but to sell it to their fans who they know are going to be, some of them are going to be mad about it. They're going to be like, oh, well, this is to help them. We're trying to help. Like, well, that's what they've done, you know, with the women and when they have women wrestle in Saudi Arabia, they're like, oh, well, we're moving women forward in Saudi Arabia by having women wrestle in front of them. Not counting the fact that in order for those women to be at that show, they have to have a man's permission, and they have to be with that family member to be at that show if they're even going to be there. So then somebody asked, like, will there even be a women's Royal Rumble match next year?
It will be. It will be. They'll just cover them up. And if I'm like WWE, if you paying me this kind of money, can they wear their regular gear as like the barter agreement? Because really, at this point, if you paying me $150 million potentially for the Royal Rumble, can we just have all women dressed in their regular gear as the compromise?
Did you see what Wendy Chu posted?
Yeah.
Wendy Chu came up my timeline, and she said this is my Royal Rumble outfit for next year, and she's in like a full onesie that's like it was like a lobster, I think it was, or something, and then she had on panda slippers, and she was like, so she's covered completely, like basically head to toe. Mel, are you muted? We can't hear you.
I'm saying 10 out of 10. I recommend that. I want that happen. Do that.
Yeah,
I am muted because it's like BJ said it. These people murdered a journalist. Mm-hmm. Like, they are West washing. Like the other day, I was flipping through channels and Live Golf came up, and I was like, oh God, get this off my TV. I don't even want one like penny going to this.
Right.
They're endorsed because we have like our special relationship that we have with them. We're doing these things, and it's really gross. Guys, slave labor will like erect whatever things are going to go on here. Like, this is a kingdom where slaves labor is totally used and women are completely restricted, and they can say that, but like the current prince has actually turned back a lot of women's rights that they earned in the early aughts and the 10s. He has come to power and turned a lot of that back, but they're trying to say because they did it for a little while, we're better now. It's like, you bone-sawed a journalist to death.
Yeah, they don't care.
And everyone knows it.
They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't
care. I mean, this is the perfect. I mean, this is it. Someday WrestleMania will be in Saudi. The money
I know.
will be too much to pass up. Royal Rumble is just WWE prepping the public for that reality.
Yep.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, sure, maybe it is like, like Keela said, maybe it is, hey, you're not going to get WrestleMania, so here's Royal Rumble. But also, I can see that reality of, hey, we're going to normalize
$200 million.
Yep.
Right. We're going to normalize
going to keep
this.
up in the
Well,
price.
especially if you're having what would you guys say? Like, would you call it Monday a success, a fail, or somewhere in the middle? Like, where do you guys put this debut?
I mean, I guess they were able to access some ratings and for their version of ratings. And from what Brandon Thurston says, it was successful. I think it reached like 2.6 million homes or something like that. And the previous Raw was at like 1.8 million or something. But that is just the debut. How many of those people are going to stick around next week? Because you didn't give them much to stick around for. You had 4 matches. And the first match was the tribal chief. What was it called?
Tribal combat.
Yes, thank you. The tribal combat, which was basically to settle who wears the Ulafala. Is it going to be Roman Reigns or is it going to be Solo Sikoa? Of course, there were all kinds of bloodline shenanigans. Roman Reigns did win. He wore the Ulafala. Then they did have one title match. They finally, for at least for right now, have ended Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley's story. I hope for a very long. I would be okay if they never feuded ever again. But this is wrestling, and I'm sure they will next year. But we have the title back on Rhea. She got some revenge on Dom. She kicked him in his chicken nuggets, which he deserved. Mm-hmm. And then we had what were the other 2 matches? We had the main event, actually, I think ended up being pretty solid. And there was
Punk and Rollins was the main event, and then Jay and Drew McIntyre was pretty good too.
Yes, thank you. Okay, yeah, I was like, I knew there was something else. I mean, the matches were solid, but I don't know if that's enough for people to tune into next week. I think some people were tuning in out of curiosity, or they heard, hey, The Rock's gonna be here. Or they're like, they're going to put Hulk Hogan on live TV. Let's see what happens. Like that type of thing. So I think there was a lot of curiosity. But I don't know, like, if that's going to be sustainable for the next few weeks. But Keela, what are your thoughts on that?
I thought it was a success in terms of like getting eyeballs for WWE on Netflix. Like the building they ran was beautiful. It was a great building to run a wrestling show. It was beautifully shot. It looked really sleek and professional. It made WWE look big time. But next week, actually, tomorrow's card is way better than the one on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And that's the show I think that they should have promoted a bit harder. They've done it on social media. And I think that would have been the show to really hook fans heading into the Royal Rumble. Penta's debut will be tomorrow in San Jose. It's a better lineup. The matches are going to be better. They're going to be longer, and you're building towards the Royal Rumble. I think for promotional purposes, it makes sense to do this show. But when you have an audience like this that you're not going to get again until probably after WrestleMania, you need to promote 2 things: the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. At least tease a couple of matches for what you expect to have at WrestleMania. And then lure those fans in. After that, I think moving forward, those Raws will mean something on Netflix. This debut was like a big, fluffy promotional tool to say, here we are. Unfortunately, I think they missed a mark in terms of hooking fans back. And now you're going to basically ask them, hey, are you going to come back around now because we're on Netflix? Some will, but I think their next big boost will probably be WrestleMania season.
And you also have, I guess their one kind of smart thing they did was obviously John Cena is entering his retirement year, and they did have him come out and declare for the Royal Rumble. And I think that made sense so people who they're like, oh, you know what? I used to watch John Cena back in the day. This is going to be his last Royal Rumble. I'll have to remember I'll have to try to remember to tune in for that. But this year it's not until February the 1st, because usually it's at the end of January, and it's the first Saturday in February now this year. But so I guess I think that was one of the smarter things.
You said February 1st?
Yep, it's a Saturday.
The day before the Super Bowl?
The week before. The following Sunday. Yeah.
That's what
I'm like, wait a minute.
No, they don't do that. They're
not that dumb.
I was like, wait a minute, isn't that because I mean, again,
they're
I'm
dumb
in
enough to
Detroit,
put
so there's
Hogan
a
on
lot of
TV,
Super
but they're
Bowl
not
talk
dumb
here.
enough to run up against the Super Bowl.
No, I was like, wait a minute, wait, what?
No, they're not that stupid. Like they know the week before we got that on lockdown. Nobody gives a damn about the Pro Bowl.
Like,
Yeah,
they're
game.
freaking me out.
They always love running, and I know it's a very small subsection of us who are wrestling fans and also people who watch the Grammys, and they will run. They have ran Royal Rumble the same night as the Grammys multiple times. And I'm like, I know I'm like one of the few people that this affects.
Girl, me too. When they did that,
right. I was like, I know it's a small subsection of us who care about the Grammys, and
it's like 2 of them are in this chat right now.
Pissed me off. You know, I love the Grammys because like it's a mini concert on free television, and you have me fighting between the Royal Rumble and the Grammys. That's not right.
It is not, and making me having to DVR the Grammys and try not to, and then I'm seeing things in real time because obviously I'm posting about wrestling in real time, and then I'm seeing Grammy stuff in real time and making me have to miss stuff. Or I'm like, wait a minute, what do you mean Chris Stapleton is performing right now? I'm trying to watch this.
See, that's a 2-screen for me, and I know that's a my generation or our generation thing, and some people can, and it's I can and can't, because sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. It depends. Like if Bob puts on a video while I'm doing another thing and the TV's on, then it gets a little bit much. But I can do like 2 screening, and that's like if it was something that important to me, like a football game that was that important, and the wrestling show that was that important, or something like that. That's the closest example. I would definitely, because I'm not a Grammy watcher, but I totally get, and especially like a lot of my friends are, like a lot of them. So, and you guys are, so I know that like I feel that I'm like that's it. But to me, that's where I put on like both screens. I've got like the computer and the TV at that point. It's sad, but
I'm following on my phone, and I just checked Sam, we're good.
I was just doing the same thing.
Yeah, nice.
Because I was like, aren't the Grammys February the 8th? And that's what I was looking to see.
I said, let me check. Grammys 2025. Oh, February 2nd. Oh, Sam, we're good. We're good.
Excellent.
Okay, February 2nd. Okay, yes, we are good. Yeah, I was just looking for myself. So thank you for that. That's doing
awesome.
the exact same thing.
Okay, so that's a much better kickoff to Mania season. It doesn't screw up the Grammys.
Sure doesn't.
And Jermaine says
football.
Raw says going to take a big hit tomorrow night because they're going up against the playoff.
Wildcard weekend does not conclude until tomorrow. They set up this wildcard schedule pretty wildly.
Yeah, they did 2 games yesterday, and what is it, 3 today, and then the last one tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. There's one more to it, and that's the one where
tomorrow is
Chargers and the Vikings, I believe, is tomorrow.
I believe that, yes.
Because living here in the Detroit area. Since everyone is a Detroit Lions fan now, which you know what, I've lived in the city or in the area. I mean, I don't live in the city proper, obviously, but I'm in the metro area and have read about the history, and I've learned about the history a lot. And Bob's grandma and me talked a lot, and so I learned a lot about like her. She learned on a Model T, like.
Oh wow.
I love it. It's so crazy. Like when there were still dirt streets downtown. Like, so she would tell me all about the city back in the day. And yes, Rams Vikings tomorrow. Yeah. But so it's this city has taken so many hits over the years, and it has been so influential, and like without people realizing it, and things like civil rights. And I mean, some of the first race riots happened here in Detroit, I mean, there were many in the South, but there were as many up here, and that just because they flew under the radar because of the way that media works and so forth.
Of course.
And I mean, we have like Rosa Parks actually came here to Detroit. We have a avenue in the city named after her because she was one of the people that helped kickstart our many of they still exist today in the form of mutual aid things that exist here in the city. It's a great city. God, I'm just like I'm so rooting for. I'm a Seahawks fan, guys. It is what it is. But I love that my neighbors are happy. I love that my friends are happy. I love the team. Dan Campbell is so hilarious to watch. He's my favorite. We haven't had a good coach to watch on press conferences in a while.
Yeah.
And he delivers. He had he has very pure Michigan moments. So it's I get it. It was just weird because when you guys were saying it, I was like, oh no, isn't that super? I was like, no way, they're not that.
No,
they're not that dumb. They were only dumb running against like the NFC Championship game a few years ago. Now that was dumb.
That's dumb.
That was very dumb.
That's dumb.
That
you should
was
never
very
run
dumb.
against. Don't run against the NFL.
No,
Tony doesn't run against him. I mean, we have to do our stuff on Saturdays because Tony won't even run against himself. He's not even that dumb.
He's not. I was like, he knows. And Brad says that he said, I don't usually like to compare AEW and WWE, but when AEW debuted on Max, they just had a normal show with an extra emphasis on teaching who some of the talent is, and WWE did a fluff nostalgia show. Yeah, that's how I felt about it too. That's what WWE does. They rely a lot on nostalgia. I mean, you can make that argument with AEW and like bringing in Rock and Roll Express in Charlotte last weekend, and they do their stuff too. I'm not saying that they don't.
We're getting there.
They just, but WWE definitely, that's what they do. They rely heavily on nostalgia because it works. Some of their, like, in the years when they were having some really terrible wrestling and their ratings were doing terrible, that's what they would do. They do those like Raw flashback shows, and they just heavily rely on nostalgia, and it worked. And they'd get the ratings back up for a week or two, and then so they know it works. They know it works for them, and so that's what they heavily leaned into it, and they do that. I mean, they typically at Royal Rumble, they will generally bring back at least a few surprises to be in the Rumble itself, and then obviously WrestleMania, they've usually got, like, apparently the rumored matches that Goldberg is having his retirement match at WrestleMania against Gunther. That's been the rumor for the last week or so. So and obviously they're going to lean heavily into it with John Cena, with this being his last year. They're going to heavily lean into stuff with him, through his last year, which I expect, and John Cena deserves that. He's been somebody who's been, basically there. I don't want to necessarily compare him to Hogan, but he has been basically somebody who has been, because obviously there was Hogan and The Rock, and then John Cena. And then, so I believe, that they'll heavily do some stuff for John Cena. I think I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if they brought somebody back for him to have him face at some point this year. But,
somebody like Undertaker, or like,
no,
they did have the Undertaker come out. It was a very quick spot. Rhea won her title. They brought Undertaker out on his bike. He did his American Badass little ride around the ring. And then he posed with, but apparently Rhea is a huge Undertaker fan. And this was something, to me, it came off as Undertaker is stealing her moment because she literally just won the title back. But apparently it was something they did for her because she was a fan of him. And it was something, apparently she was really happy with it. So, but yeah, I mean,
that was my first WrestleMania 19. He was the American Badass, and that was the song. It was like Nickelback or Linkin Park?
Kid Rock.
Kid Rock. It was like, oh my god, it was so many times. I couldn't, I heard it so many times. Okay, so who do you think they would bring back for him? I'm curious.
Oh, this is a big, this is.
Okay. I was gonna say someone like Randy Orton, or
if Randy Orton can stay healthy.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy.
That was the second name that popped into my. I was like, wait, timeline wise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who they'd bring in. I can't think of Keela. I don't know if there's anybody that you can think of if they bring somebody back for him, but I guess it would just be the Orton Cena.
Yeah,
I feel like they've got to.
If hell froze over, they'll bring back Cope, but that's not possible. Right. So those would be like the two big feuds for me. Then Punk obviously would be the other option. Definitely teasing Cody, but shout out to big ticket John Cena. That man moved 3,000 tickets for the Rumble in 5 days.
Yeah, he sure did. They knew what to do. They're like, hey, come do this for us real quick. We need you.
I got you. He moved 3,000 just like that.
And now he's got his, obviously he's in his retirement era, as I called it the other day. So he's got his new retirement, his his final time, or I forget what they're calling it. And he's got the merch, of course, has the merch for it. And it has like a whole little line of things. And yeah, I heard that too. That Becky was supposedly going to return at the Undertaker spot. Then I've heard, because they said she was in town, but then other reports say that she was not in town and she was never supposed to be there. But that was the original report. But Penta apparently was supposed to have made his debut, and then they bumped it to tomorrow against Chad Gable.
Yes.
I think that's where they're going with this story.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So yeah, that'll be interesting. But I guess I was like, hey, well, at least, they're not, well, we don't know. It hasn't happened yet. I was like, well, at least maybe they're not going to introduce him on social media like they did with Motor City, but
they better effing not do that.
Well, because the ads, like the ads they showed for him, we got the little teaser and like, ooh, that's got to be for Penta. Then the next week we're like, that's Penta. Okay, it's just, you might as well just say Penta, because they just but then it was like, because I did it with Motor City, they're like, oh, was that a Motor City reference? And then they're like, okay, and then it was like coming soon, and then they're like, Motor City is coming, and then the Spanish announce team accidentally
that's right,
ruined they accidentally said it. And yeah, and so then it was like, so with Penta, so I was like, when I started seeing these ads, I was like, are they gonna introduce Penta on social media like they did Motor City?
They better effing not. Like, you better have like a special interest for that man tomorrow live. Don't do no social media shit. I don't want to see it.
Silly.
Exactly. Don't you do Penta like that? Because yeah, they seem to be bringing in Penta to tag with Rey Mysterio, and then they kind of were like, then there was like some backstage segment with Chad Gable, and he basically hinted at that, and he's wrestling, that he will be facing Penta tomorrow. So apparently that's how that's happening, which I'm sure will be it's an interesting way to bring him in. I think the match will be good because Chad Gable is obviously, he's Chad Gable and Penta is Penta. So, but I did see somebody tweet it and it made me laugh, and it probably shouldn't. I mean, it was just, but they said they were talking about how they called Penta the best luchador. I forget the exact way they worded it, and somebody was like, he's not even the best luchador in his family.
Oh my God. Like, y'all, listen, the Penta slander, even though it's not wrong, even though Ray is superior, y'all don't do that man like that. He's the second best luchador in his family.
It's, you know what, they wouldn't be as what they are without each other, and you need to appreciate that. And if you're mad that he went and took the money from WWE and is living out his childhood dreams, I guess that's on you. Like, it bums me out, because do I want to see Penta on my program? Yeah, of course, but he's great.
Yeah,
but I get it. It's a competitive world out there, and these people, like, these two have had opportunities they never could have dreamed of having, and like, just whatever, man.
The only thing I think that probably bothers me the most, if this story is true, of course,
the medical issue story.
Ray Phoenix wanted to stay in AEW, but Penta wanted to go to WWE, and he wanted to be a good brother, and they were a package deal, and so to be a good brother, he told Penta he would go with him to WWE instead of doing what he wanted to do, which was to resign. Again, I don't know how accurate that story is, but that was a story that was out a few months ago. But who knows if that's really the case. But I love the Lucha Brothers so much, and I love Penta, and I do love Phoenix, and it's gonna be weird seeing Penta on TV and Phoenix is just doing nothing until I guess his contract is up, and that's kind of gonna suck. But at least Penta is getting to live out his WWE dreams, and I hope he is happy and makes a lot of money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get paid. Like, get your last big check
because it sounds like Malachi is on his way back.
Yeah. Yep. Sure does.
Like he's gone.
Yeah, Will Ospreay wrote him off the TV apparently.
Last night they backstage, there was because Brody King had an unannounced squash match. And then Lexi talked to him and Julia, and they kind of were like,
they kind of confirmed it.
Yeah, they kind of confirmed it without confirming it, and basically were like, we'll be fine. And then of course Adam Copeland comes up and was like, I always wanted to be in a faction with you. but you need to take the reins and run, is exactly what he said to him. So they pretty much confirmed it. But I was like, you know what? I don't think Alistair has been happy for a long time. I think he wanted to go within like 6 months of coming there. And I think he just...
Isn't he one that tried to like bad behavior his way out of his contract?
Well, he wouldn't, not bad behavior. He just like people. The way I heard
to sit at home, he thought like that would be the mythology to get out the contract.
Then there was somebody tweeted that he has an affliction where his shoulders can't be down for 3 seconds.
That's right. I remember now. I remember he in the immortal words of Chico El Luchador himself, no do job.
No do job. I don't know her. I don't do jobs. I think that as soon as Vince was out of power and Triple H was back in power, he was like, oh damn. But you can't predict stuff like that. You couldn't foresee it. So he just wanted to be out 6 months in. And I do think that once he's back where he wanted to be in the first place, he'll be good to go. I just need Def Rebel to stay the hell away from his music.
Please, 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 please.
Pay CFOs to play that song. Just do that for me.
Yes, please, please, please let us have that.
Which song?
Yeah, here we go, Vinkin. We better get that good intro.
Okay, Paul Levesque, listen to me. Whatever you got to pay CFOs, pay them lifetime royalty contracts like you do for Beyonce, for Bianca and the Street Profits. Give him his music back. Don't play with me.
Please, please, please. That should have been in his contract. I will come back. If in my contract, I have to have this theme song for eternity.
Yes. Do not switch my song. Give me back my candles. Give me back my music.
Oh,
yes.
Alistair
need
Black.
the candles.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Bring back the candles.
I think he didn't know what he wanted when his contract was up, and then when he got to AEW and realized the culture wasn't for him, that whatever he did, like he picked a thing. And I have a friend who's worked with wrestlers in other venues, and they are, they can be like as you said, their methodology can be strange, and their rationale is limited to wrestler logic, which I'm not slagging on intelligence. No. I'm talking about the business.
They view things.
I'm talking about the business of wrestling. Is people project, people. Jeff Hawkins described AEW. I've said this many times. Sometimes as they come off as a group of theater kids. And I believe that nails AEW and WWE is like a bigger version of it. They're like again, like Jim said it yesterday, production values. Like you guys are telling me that they spent like a truckload of money on pyro. So
they sure did.
It was like
he blew the entire pyro budget just for him. I think.
I got a sparkler on my fried ice cream yesterday and was.
I saw that it was rivaling Paul Levesque.
I was like, you know what? Pyro on your birthday is like the best thing ever. And I feel like I had a Netflix debut last night.
You did have a yes, you did. Can't confirm.
It didn't blow up like the restaurant or anything, which was nice.
Well, that's always good. I do want to go back up to this comment from Brad because it made me laugh. That Penta get ready to be the king of speed.
Oh my God.
Take it away from Andrade. Actually, no, who has it now? Wait, no, Andrade dropped it, right?
Yeah, who has it? Is it Dragon Lee who's now the king of speed? I think so.
I think so. I think it is Dragon Lee. I was trying to remember. I believe
Dragon Lee and Penta.
It was Ricochet.
And then it went to Andrade.
And they put it on Andrade.
It's like the promotional upswing title. Like once you're done with speed, you get a main roster push. Look at Candice LeRae. You win the speed championship. Look where you're at now. You have a main roster push. So Penta, if you go down to speed for 2 months and you win that championship, you come back with a main roster championship push. It's a rite of passage.
It sounds like a Zelda.
It's true because now Andrade is feuding with Shinsuke for the U.S. championship. Wow, is it the U.S. championship or the Intercontinental? It's a U.S.
US.
championship, right?
Yeah, US. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. And I was like, wait, am I getting them confused? Also, probably because Charlotte's getting ready to come back, and she's like,
Oh
you
yeah,
gotta
Charlotte.
bump up
gonna
some
do-
speed. My husband isn't going to be the king of speed. Better bump him on up.
Oh, that's right. When she gets back, he gets to be like,
Oh, dude's getting like the mid-card push US champion by WrestleMania. Charlotte don't play. Like, what you're not gonna do with my husband is lowball him. Okay.
yep.
She's gonna. I don't think that Zelina does not have that sway for Alistair. So
No,
No.
no.
but she don't have that sway. But Charlotte should be back any moment now.
Charlotte can do whatever she
Becky
wants.
is coming back. They're clearly not gonna. They're gonna separate those into those returns as much as possible because can't
Mhm.
have those returns.
We
Oh,
have
next to
someone
each
in the
other.
comments that believes that Becky's going to AEW, but I still maintain
Oh no,
that
she's going. She's going back to WWE.
she's staying
Yeah.
home.
She
That's
was in
her. That's where
promotion
her
for
family's
Netflix.
at.
Yeah.
No, and her husband's there. It'll be it's they travel with their kid. It'll just be easier for her. I mean, and she's just and I would have loved to see what she could do in AEW, but she is a WWE wrestler through and through, and
Yeah,
I
she
think
is.
that's where she's going to be happy. That's where she's going to thrive. So good for her. I hope she gets paid. I hope
Yes.
she makes a shit ton of money.
Yes.
I hope Charlotte makes a shit. I hope they see what Mercedes got in AEW and try to leverage that the best way that they can with that Netflix money.
I hope they all got 7 figures. That's my hope.
Yeah, that's my hope.
7,
too.
maybe high 8 figures. You know,
It'd
since
be
y'all
like,
got the money
right.
now.
That's right. Be like, take it out of your pyro budget.
Paula makes that whoa. Don't
Wait a
get
minute.
crazy.
Okay, I need
That's
that for
like
like
3
the
rockets
Rumble.
less.
You know what? That's
Yeah.
probably why they're minority owners in Real American Beer is the money they get from that is going to Paula Beck's
Pyro budget.
Firework. His fireworks budget.
Yes, and the
Yes.
drones. That's the
Yes.
drone and pyro budget.
Yes. Oh my God, those drones were insane. I was annoyed with it by like the second time. And then like later on, so I forget somebody was like, all right, this is because I complained about it, and they're like, it's not that bad. I'm not really noticing. Then by like the 5th time, they're like, all right.
Enough.
Enough already.
Enough of the drones.
They're like,
We get it.
it's too much. Yes, it is confirmed that Dragon Lee is the men's speed
Thank you.
champion. Yeah, I wish they'd do something with Carmelo too.
It sounds like a lot of people do, but
Yeah, I
Carmelo-
think they are in this year. I just wish
Yeah.
that, and I love Shinsuke, don't get me wrong, but Andrade and Carmelo deserve to fight over that championship more than him.
Yeah.
But I digress.
They gave Shinsuke that title so that he could go into Noah as champion. I think is what that was
Exactly.
for.
that's
Mhm.
right.
Yes, he came back and won it his first night back. Not that Shinsuke can't, because clearly he's Shinsuke. But it was clearly like, I'm going to Noah in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Let me go in with the title. And then I just keep it off of LA Knight. That's all I'm saying. Just like keep it off him. I would like to see Andrade get it. I'd like to see Carmelo. And Andrade and Carmelo had like a best of 5 series that was really, really good. So I would not be mad at one of them getting the title and then that feud comes back around.
Me too.
That was some good stuff. I really enjoyed it. Jermaine says that Mercedes is earning that money. They're putting every title on her. The female belt collector. Next title she will collect is the CMLL World Women's Championship. Like, I'm here for it. Like I'm
Me
here for a
too.
woman's. But I know Nina Samuels did it last year. She did. I don't want to take away anything she did because she had 10 titles last year, and I couldn't remember who it was last week that she dropped the title to. I was thinking it was Emmy for some reason. I think she did wrestle Emmy, but it was Thunder Rosa. So Nina Samuels, I don't know how many titles she currently has. I know she started losing some of them, and Thunder Rosa won the first belt. Like of those, the first belt of her 10, she dropped to Thunder Rosa. And so I don't know how many belts she has now, but I don't want to forget what Nina did. But I would love to see another woman in a major company be able to do a belt collector gimmick.
Yeah.
And Lauren says hopefully she collects Mariah's title too. That would be really interesting to see how that turns out. I mean, at this point, she might as well take the ROH titles too, because
Oh dear.
Or at least I'm glad though that Athena has her title and she's defending it. She's finally getting her excursion in Japan that she's been wanting for 3 years, and she's getting ready to wrestle Tekla for the title. I think, is it tomorrow? I'm sure Brad can tell me. I feel like it's January the 13th, I think is what I saw. So I believe that is tomorrow.
Is that
Yes.
is that
And I will go
is
back
that
up
New
to
Beginnings?
No, this is a Stardom show. She's wrestling
Oh,
in
okay.
Stardom.
Okay,
No,
she
they're
was
not
saying
doing.
Stardom.
I mean, maybe if they'll do, probably not though.
I
'Cause they
thought they
barely put
okay, yeah.
Mayu's title on
But
there.
no, that makes sense. Stardom makes more sense anyway.
Yeah. And yeah, I will go back and click on this comment from up here because I saw it too. That Melina, nobody has been able to get in touch with her.
I saw that also.
That they are trying to. She lives in the LA area. She's not active on social media as it is, but from apparently people are not being able to get in touch with her via phone calls and text messages either. So hopefully they find. And I know I saw yesterday that Anthony Bowens had to evacuate, and a couple of nights ago, I think it was Thursday, Taya and Johnny had to evacuate. And they are trying to. I saw Taya. They did something at a local bar or something last night where they were raising funds and they were taking donations and a lot of things. So I know that Taya is doing that, which is a really cool thing to see. So hopefully they are safe and that they find Melina, because that's a very scary situation. But okay. So we have got confirmation that tomorrow is the Athena Tekla match. I did see a clip, but I didn't watch it because it was like 5 minutes and I was doing something else and didn't have a chance to go back. So I'm planning to go back and watch that clip. And then Brad says it'll be on Stardom World, okay, at 9 p.m. tonight because it's 11 a.m. time for Japan because it's a holiday there. Thank you. I knew y'all know. I was like,
that's we have reliable, wonderful chatters in our chat and people that hang with us. We love it. Thank you guys.
Yes, and I agree. Mercedes is putting a lot of eyeballs on companies, and that's why I've heard that the people, and I heard that RevPro is really happy with her having that title, and I heard that there's some other British companies who are wanting to try to leverage that and have them come wrestle for them, which if she's able to, let her do it.
I think she's starting to find her footing in AEW. I think
finally. It took some time. Like, it's weird because she was hitting in New Japan, like those matches, and she was having these great matches, and she just couldn't, for whatever it was reason, she just could not connect with that AEW crowd. And I think she's finally, like you said, I think she's finally getting it, and for whatever reason, it's finally clicking. So I'm glad for that. Oh, awesome! Brad says that subscriptions to RevPro have gone up substantially per Andy, the owner of RevPro.
Excellent.
Good for them.
Excellent.
Good for them.
That's funny. You know, there's a wrestler in, yeah, exactly. The prayers to everyone and all. However you put your good energies out there to people.
For sure.
Do it.
Sure.
Yes. It's funny because there is a wrestler who John has put me onto an OTT called Be Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Just the letter B, cool.
Nice.
And he cuts these amazing promos on the channel where he's like, oh, edit that out. And he'll do this thing where he comes out before his entrance and he tells the crowd how to react to him. And so in one of the shows, this is like, trust me, this ties in. So in one of the shows, he came out and he was like, so when I come out, I want you to like go crazy. And he was telling them, and he's like if you were going crazy for Hogan before you found out he was a racist.
That's great.
And John always reminds me of it. And with this week and what happened, it became particularly because he's going to be on their February. They're doing like a mega show. Basically, they have just a stacked card. They've got a whole bunch of people coming in from all. You would know all the names. I'll send you guys the card. But
yeah. And
I was just like, oh God, I love that guy so much because he's just like he'll say like the most offensive thing, and he's like, oh, just edit that out. It's just the gimmick is he's a great, like, he's a fun wrestler too, but his gimmick is like it's somewhere around like that, like old school Cabana, like, or Yano, but he's got his own spin on that thing, and it's so
Awesome.
freaking great. And I love him so much, and I cannot wait. We both agree that, and we're hoping that he gets a chance to be on AEW because he would destroy the AEW crowd. Like, he would be so fun. I would love to see him like cutting a promo on Moxley or something.
TNA might try to replace Joe Hendry with him.
Oh, jeez.
You better watch out. Joe Hendry's going to be leaving them sooner rather than later, and they're going to need to fill that big old gap.
Where we get all kinds of mega talent and do absolutely F nothing with it.
Yes.
I mean,
okay.
Anyway,
before
that's none
we
of my
have lots
business.
we have lots of love for Mercedes and Mercedes in the comments, and I'm glad to see that. Yes, Mercedes is the reason that Ray started watching Stardom when she had her run with IWGP 2 years ago. She is Monet. She is, and she is not that one. She is quickly becoming the hottest female wrestler. Agreed. And this is
finally clicking. I love
that
it.
Monet should drop the belt to Stat and then attack until we get a steel cage. That's an interesting theory.
I am interested in this. I
don't think I would be mad at that.
I love the steel cage idea.
And Vinkin started watching Stardom because of Kyrie. Kyrie's still amazing. That's one of the few highlights of me still getting to, when I have to watch WWE. I was like, well, at least I still get to watch Kyrie and EO.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think Jordan Grace to WWE is a done deal. They're just waiting, just like Joe Hendry is waiting on the days for his contract to end. Jordan is too, and especially now because they have her feuding with Tessa Blanchard. So I think she's like, get the hell out.
Oh God, Tessa Blanchard. Oh.
Yeah, that's who she's feuding with.
I know.
I think she's getting ready to drop the title to her because
I saw it.
I think they have Genesis. I think is that match. I think they just signed the title match for that. So I guess she's getting ready to drop that title. And then is her? I don't know if you know, Keela. Is her contract up for her to be in the Rumble this year? Or
it's very close. It's very, very close. Like, it's very narrow in terms of when she could possibly debut. I presume Royal Rumble in Indianapolis. That's why I guess, because I think her contract runs out at the end of January.
Okay.
And that's right in line with the 1st of February. Could she get out early? Potentially.
You think Josh Alexander is coming to NXT?
Yes, I do.
You think that's who Ethan's been referencing?
I think so.
Yeah.
The North reunites imminently.
Good for them. Yeah, I saw because Josh Alexander was supposed to have his final Indian match yesterday at Wrestle Prestige against Kevin Blackwood, and because of weather, he could not get there. And he said he and William Quintana, who is the owner, both tweeted and said that they tried literally everything that they could possibly do to get him to that show, and that was supposed to be his final indie match for a long time. Josh says he's going to find a way to do it. And I think that, like, I guess at some point, if they're letting Shinsuke go over to Noah and stuff like that, I could see them letting Josh at some point get that match back that he wanted, because he really wanted to wrestle Kevin. But I saw that yesterday. I knew his contract. I knew it was coming. And then I was like, wait. And I was like, but do you think they'll debut him in the Rumble, or do you think he'll just go straight to NXT to be with Ethan?
I think he'll go to NXT to be with Ethan. Maybe they'll do it. I would see maybe Vengeance Day in DC, potentially, because if they're going to run Javon and Ethan, I can definitely see him pop up there.
Yeah, that makes sense, because that DC show is what, the February 15th or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, I could see, because of the way Ethan, I've only seen bits and pieces, but some of the stuff I've seen with Ethan, I was like, oh, sounds like he's talking about Josh Alexander.
Yeah, more so than he has in a minute, because we thought it was a possibility when NXT and TNA started working together. I thought maybe it would have happened in Chicago, but they're definitely waiting until they can sign him outright.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And that sounds like it should be any day now.
Yeah.
Jermaine has a good question. Go ahead.
And Melina's been found safe.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Thank you for the update.
Thank you. Glad to hear that. Jermaine has a question, and this might be something that Keela can answer. Do you have Jordan Grace win the Royal Rumble this year, or have her beat Chelsea Green for the U.S. title?
Ooh. Have her beat Chelsea for the US title seems way more likely than her winning the Royal Rumble. I do see her doing some brief time in NXT for a bit, and then she moves up to the main roster. I think that she's one of the more ready-made stars for WWE.
Agreed.
That she does a quick sprint in NXT, goes up to the main roster right after WrestleMania season, and then possibly be in the running to win Money in the Bank for the ladies.
Ooh, yeah, I could see that, especially because she has some, because she already has been in NXT with those women and kind of wrap up if there's anything that she needs to wrap up there, or do a quick little feud, because Julia just won the title, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so they could even do something with that and then just shoot her on up to the main roster, because she's definitely ready. Yes, Melina has been found safe, is what Keela was just saying, that they have found her. So that is good news to hear. It is definitely too soon for Chelsea to lose the title, but I could see them doing that because of their history together and because they're really good friends. So I could definitely see that be that said Triple H is gonna be like, Sean, you can't have her. You've already had her. That's it.
For months, I allowed it. And yes, she's made your show better, but she can make my show greater.
Right, exactly.
You have Julia and Stephanie for now, and I'll get them after Stand and Deliver. But you enjoy them for the next 3 months.
Just build up Zarya.
Yes.
Yeah, she was. He said that Chelsea was looking good as U.S. Women's Champion on SmackDown. And oh my God, and having Piper dressed as like an FBI agent when she came out Friday.
Yes,
and she
with
tweeted
the earpiece.
She tweeted pictures of her outfit, and she said that she would protect Chelsea or protect the title against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
I was like, what is this? I love the camp. I love
so
them
much.
together.
That's funny.
Yeah, Piper and Chelsea are really good together. I don't know who thought to put them together, but I'm glad that they did because it was very smart. And Vinkin says that Triple H has a lot to work with in the women's division. He does if he just would care about the women.
Exactly. If you book it properly.
That's both companies. That's what I was
going to say. The talent is there.
Most companies are just stacked with talent. It's not about that. It's
Yes. And Vinkin says AEW has a dilemma on their hands right now because Harley Cameron is slowly becoming a huge pop with the fans of the baby faces. So AEW should have let her win last night.
Agree.
She came out when I was at Collision. She was on ROH. She wrestled Trisha Dora, and that was pre-Collision, and she got a really big pop when her music hit, and people were chanting for her throughout the match and stuff. So Harley's definitely gotten her.
I don't think she should have won necessarily, but I do.
It was a non-title match, so they could have gotten away with it. But I don't think you have going into a women's casino gauntlet match. I don't think you have Mariah losing even in a non-title match there. But
I think this
Harley
was meant to keep
really
Harley's
good.
momentum going, and I think it did its job. Frankly, I felt like it was exactly right. Like it's continuing to move her into. She's taking her shots where they're open. Like when she's got the time, she's doing a great job. So let her keep building her.
Keep her the hell away from Saraya. She does not need to be anywhere near the outcast.
Lord,
if they try to do anything, whenever Saraya comes back, if they try to do anything with the outcast, keep Harley far, far away. Because
what's funny is that I haven't even noticed her missing until someone mentioned.
Yeah, I've noticed it a few. Apparently, she was like working on some outside projects, and she's finishing up her book, I think, too. And
that's
like
fine. I just haven't. It's been so good. I haven't really noticed.
They don't.
Fantastic. I don't care either.
They don't need her.
They don't. They really don't.
Fine.
They never. I don't think they ever needed her, but they don't need her.
Well, now they have Mercedes and Mariah and Tony doing what they're doing.
They've got Jamie Hayter. They've got
and that's right.
Harley.
Jamie Hayter, Thunder Rosa.
They've got Julia Hart is back.
Thunder Rosa seems to be rediscovering herself now that things are a little different in the locker room. I think. I think she feels like she's getting her confidence back a little. She's not where she was necessarily, but she's getting bigger pops. This last week's shout out to this last week's crowd for actually showing up, because some of these crowds have been like, are you guys aware that you're at a wrestling show?
No, we're at
Yeah,
the ballet and the opera house, and we sit there
Right.
very politely and lightly clap because we don't know where we are.
Right. Exactly. Yes, Maria, you right here with you. Queen Amanada deserves a lot more TV time and a serious push. I could not
Truth.
agree more. I was so excited that I got to see her last week. I've seen her live a few times now in AEW and with DPW, and she is phenomenal live. And if they're not going to use her more on AEW TV, which they should, I think she should have the ROH Women's TV title. She should take that from Red Velvet. I think that I would have put that title on her over Red Velvet to begin with, but I think that she should be the next one if they're not having Athena drop the ROH title to her, because Athena's got to put somebody over on the way out. We can't have a repeat situation of Asuka and Ember Moon with this title. So they gotta put somebody over on the way out. Don't just have her drop that title and nothing. Don't do that.
That would be the height of irony, wouldn't it? After all of this, that she just was an Oscar.
Right,
Like,
right.
Nobody's better than Athena.
No. Lauren says, I need AEW to do a better job with Deanna. I don't think she's happy with how they're using her, and I can't say I blame her. She seems to be, but somebody said something along those lines last week, and she was like, what are you talking about? She was like, she was like, I don't feel, I mean, and I don't know, maybe she was just saying because it's Twitter, but she seemed to, like, apparently I read something the other day saying that they have big things planned for the Vendetta. They're getting a lot of their promos over. Deanna needs to be winning matches to kind of carry that too, but I'm hoping I hope that they do more with it, but I don't know, maybe she is unhappy, maybe she was just not trying to show that on Twitter on social media, but hopefully they get something, they do something with that. But before we move completely into AEW, because we have gone off, we've gone a little out of where we were going, I do want to mention real quick unfortunately the non-fun things about Vince McMahon has been under investigation by the SEC for quite a while. Like, he was still employed with WWE when they started investigating him. He tried to put out a comment saying, to kind of mislead people, as he does, and say that they didn't find anything. It was just, it was minor. They didn't find anything. I told you that this was all. He didn't come out and say witch hunt, but that's basically what he
called
was
it
implying.
an accounting error.
My guy, you're the reason there was an accounting error, because you were giving money to women for NDAs that you made them sign. But sure. So of course, I believe, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I meant to pull them up. I believe he was fined $400,000, and then he also has to reimburse WWE $1.3 million because they spent money on, obviously the board had to investigate him, so he is reimbursing them for that basically. And Brandon Thurston, don't know if I have the tweet. He basically was saying, for a man of Vince's wealth, how that basically these are pocket change to him, because it he said, let me see if I can find this tweet real quick. Where is it at? Where is Brandon? There it is. Okay, he was not coming up for some reason. So he said Vince was fined $400,000 in order to repay WWE $1.3 million. Vince's net worth is, let's say, $2 billion to be conservative, only counting the roughly $1 billion in stock he liquidated since the TKO 2023 merger and his remaining TKO stock. Yes, he still has a lot, which has a market value of an additional $1 billion. Let's not even consider the millions he's made over the decades in dividends, compensation, and whatever real estate or other assets he may have. The median net worth in the U.S., by contrast, is about $200,000. So Vince's $400,000 fine is 0.02% of his conservatively estimated net worth. That's like fining the median U.S. citizen $40. Where I live, that's actually the exact fine for parking on the wrong side of the street. And then 1.3, the reimbursement to WWE is like ordering a person with a median net worth to pay $130, probably on the low end of the range of a speeding ticket in the U.S. So
that would be a moving violation, not an actual speeding ticket. That's how they get you the cheaper ones, the 130s. That's a moving violation. Yeah. It's different than a speeding ticket. That is also, And this is the thing that I've been thinking all week because my little brain kicked in and went, well, this is essentially, I mean, when you settle and you pay a fine to and you admit that these things.
But he
I
didn't
know he
admit.
didn't admit this actually. He didn't admit what they were for. He
tried to lie about
settled.
it.
He's agreeing to repay money. He's admitting that he misused these funds. This can be used as evidence in Ann Callis's case against him because
And
he's
Ann Callis
essentially
before.
saying, for better or worse, he did misuse these funds.
Mhm.
He trying to pretend that he didn't misuse them on like trafficking another human being, but
Right.
it seems pretty evident or there seems like a lot of evidence that that's not true and that he did use them for that purpose.
Right. And so, of course, Ann Callis had a statement and said during his time leading WWE, Vince McMahon acted as if rules did not apply to him. And now we have confirmation that he repeatedly broke the law to cover up his horrifying behavior, including human trafficking. The SEC's charges prove that the NDA Vince McMahon coerced Ms. Grant into signing violates the law, and therefore her case must be heard in court. While prosecutors for the Southern District of New York continue their criminal investigation, we look forward to bringing forward new evidence in our civil case about the sexual exploitations Ms. Grant endured at WWE by Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis. She has previously said in the last week or so that they are going to amend that lawsuit. She has until January 15th to do so. That is this Wednesday.
Mhm.
So by the middle of the week, we may know what exactly they're amending that, or not. We will know what they're amending that lawsuit for, and if there is new evidence, if there's
New
no telling
victims,
what they're doing.
potentially.
Yeah, and I'm sure that this factors into it. And then I was talking to because I assumed that the SEC case wouldn't have anything to do with the Fed's case that they currently have.
Doesn't.
And they are two separate agencies.
Yeah, one is Vice and it's FBI, and
Right.
the other is the SEC. They are the SEC stands for Securities and Exchange Commission. Yeah. They actually are literally one of them and the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. They oversee market stuff. Mm-hmm. So they make sure that the banks and the fiduciaries and Fidelity and all the places that manage your money and your 401k, they make sure that all of those people are doing it inside of the purview of the law. Market antitrust law is quite a whole. I had one of my economics professors was actually an antitrust lawyer, and it's yikes. But that's why I've always said that one of the things they could still get him on, and this, I don't know if this takes it off the table, because they only find him for the stuff that we know exactly happened. It doesn't mean that even that the other branches of the Treasury Department and other branches of the Justice Department, which is the FBI, human trafficking falls under the FBI.
Right.
That wouldn't have anything to do with the
right,
SEC.
But even the feds are looking into some other possible things as well, and so this ruling does not necessarily
saying that this is the end of it is that's cool, brother, but and he might be right, unfortunately, because of who's taking over the court system. But
there's a lot of unknowns. I don't think this is anywhere close to being over.
I don't either,
especially with whatever is gonna, because we don't know what she's amending the lawsuit for. We don't know what she's going to put in there. So it could be more evidence. It could be more people coming forward. It could be maybe Carlin Colker has turned. It could be a number of things that we don't even.
Well, she can amend it to this here says that he is admitting that he misused funds for something.
Mm-hmm. Right. I was going to say this will probably
amend it to even more. I know that the NDA voiding is also on the table, but she could amend it to include the fact that he admitted to the SEC that he misused the funds. That's more evidence that he was misusing funds, and it lends itself to the case that they are making, which is that he misused funds to do shitty things to Janelle and other.
Basically, what Ann Callis said in
he's
quote.
I mean, for better or worse, you might think that paying this little fine off is going to help that go away, but it's also admissible as evidence that you were actually acting in a fashion that is actually out there being they're saying he acted this way and he paid a fine that he acted that way.
Right.
That's evidence.
Right. Yes. So it'll
So
be really interesting to see what happens between now and Wednesday. I mean, it could happen. It could happen as soon as tomorrow, but I know she has until the 15th, which is Wednesday. So I would assume middle of the week we'll probably find out something. So there is that. And yes, Vince and Hogan do deserve each other. And he is trash.
He's trash.
All right. We've been talking a lot about WWE. I mean, we got some AEW talk in there, but we'll go ahead and move on to the other big AEW topic besides the women. Of this conversation that I keep seeing and that it's playing out on TV in front of us is that AEW's World Championship scene it is aging a lot. We ended All Out. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was All Out. We see, Danielson is forced to retire. We see that shot of, I believe it was Darby, Orange Cassidy, was it Wheeler and Jack Perry maybe? And somebody was like, what if these are the next 4 champions? Because, they had that one picture used to be on Twitter all the time, and it ended up being the first 4 world champions. And so people were like, what if that is what if these are our next 4 champions? Which it still could be. However, in order to get there, apparently we now have Cope, who is going by Cope now, who has leapfrogged himself into the title picture. We have Jeff Jarrett, who also wants to be in the title picture. And again, that doesn't mean he's going to win, but he has made it clear that that's what his goal is to become champion. And we have Christian, who has a contract that he can cash in at any time to potentially become the champion. So we went from World's End, where we have Jon Moxley defending his title against Orange Cassidy, Jay White, who apparently is no longer in the title picture, and Hangman Page, who they're doing their own thing. So do either of you want to weigh in on the thoughts of what is currently? Oh, and before we do that, we also have ROH World Champion, 52-year-old Chris Jericho, who was struggling last night in the main event against Dax. There was a spot because Nikki flat out asked me, she was like, did they botch that? And looking back on it, they probably did.
Someone clipped it and memed it and actually tweeted it before I came on. I was on my Twitter or on my Blue Sky on the way here, and someone was showing it, and they were like, what are we doing? They literally had Sam. They had a Sam moment. They said, what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. And I watched it and was like, oh my God,
And Jericho botched last week at the Collision show I was at. He botched.
Our friends Lyric and Lady B were having an excellent conversation on what a mess this is on Twitter and Blue Sky. So go check that out.
Yes. And then we also have, so then you have so of course you could say, obviously Will Hobbs is currently in the title picture because he won the Casino Gauntlet match, and he gets a shot at Jon Moxley in a rematch of the title match they had for the New Japan title, in which Powerhouse Hobbs got injured and kept him out from all of this time. So he's getting his rematch in Jon Moxley's hometown. So there is that. It would be I think the match is going to be great, but I think we all know Will Hobbs is not going to win that match.
God, I wish they would just swerve us and put it on him. They should just do it.
And then there's also the question.
Just rocket him to the moon.
There's also the question of, we now know that Darby Allin is once again preparing to climb Mount Everest. I figured when they wrote him off TV of them pushing him down the steps, a flight of stairs with a chair around his neck, that's why they did that. And so some people are like, oh my God, now we're not going to, now Darby, because they're convinced that Darby is the one to dethrone Jon Moxley. I still don't. For me, I don't think he should. I know they've set it up possibly of that happening, and if that's the case, who knows? I don't know when he's even supposed to climb Mount Everest. I don't know how long he's supposed to be gone. And clearly they've got to have title contenders for him. But Kenny Omega's right there. But Kenny Omega said in his promo last week that he's not out for revenge, and they're keeping him clear of that title picture for now. He's going after, because in he cut a promo following Wrestle Kingdom, and he said he lost friends and he lost family. Clearly that person, when he said that, I was like, oh, Don Callis, that's who he means. Because like Nikki said, he's not going to lose family over having diverticulitis. So he clearly means Don Callis. And that's where his, that's how they're keeping him out of the title picture for now. But how long can you keep Kenny Omega out of the title picture in general? But then when you have all of this going on. So I would like either of you to weigh in on what you think is happening here, or just what this title scene looks like.
I've talked enough. I want to hear what Keela has to say about it.
Ooh, when you spell out the amount of old guys gunning for this championship in 2025, this is giving last days of WCW. What the hell are we doing with old guys at the top? And I did read a comment earlier saying that, well, you guys who love WWE so much, you want 46-year-old CM Punk to win the championship. First of all, who is we? We is not a collective. I am not we. There are some fans that would like to see it. And of course, John Cena is vying for the championship. But these are individual Trek storylines that don't involve other old people going for the championship. These are specialized stories of a guy trying to main event WrestleMania for a first time and win the world championship, and a guy's trying to break a record. Differences. Right. This is basically front loading old guys for a championship, from Jeff Jarrett to Christian, who has a guaranteed shot at a title, to Cope, who magically became #1 contender for reasons. So that's what we got. And we have a situation where you're going to have a main event at Revolution, most likely, of Cope versus Mox for the championship. You're going to have Jeff Jarrett versus Moxley for the championship on television at some point. You're going to have Christian try to cash in at some point. So where is the youth when all the guys are old at the top? That's what we're talking about. That's an avalanche effect of old guys there. It's just how they booked it. And unfortunately, you can't unsee it, because you have people declaring themselves for championship matches and they're pushing 60. And I have no issue with guys who are older fighting for something, but it's too many at one time.
Yes. Yeah, it would be different if it was just Jeff Jarrett saying like, hey, I know my career was winding down. I'd like to try to get a title shot. But then when you have Adam Copeland, who has been injured since, what was it, Double or Nothing of last year, suddenly comes back and
for doing a stunt he had no business doing in the first place.
Right. And then he suddenly comes back out of nowhere. He wasn't even in the title picture before he got injured. And now all of a sudden he deserves a title shot because he's Copeland and he's wrestled for 30 years. And then that, listen, first of all, I know that he has been through a lot to come back to wrestle with his neck, and I get it. But to sit there and say that nobody has done what you've done when Bryan Danielson literally did the same thing and won the title. Kenny Omega nearly died because of diverticulitis. That man almost was not here anymore. So, sir, take a step back. I get it, and I applaud all of the hard work you have done. But when Bryan Danielson literally did the same thing, Saraya did the same thing. And sure, there are other, of course, I get it. There are other setbacks of different injuries and things like that. But like, they did those things too. They miraculously, all three of them came back when they never thought they would. But literally, Kenny Omega almost died.
And he had 2 feet of his intestine, because he had 2 feet of his intestine. I know it seems like a lot. It isn't and is, but it is.
Right.
Like, he could have ended up dead. He could have ended up with a colostomy, not being able to work anymore because he has a colostomy situation.
And you have him cut that promo literally on the same show where Kenny Omega comes at the end of that show and said that the doctor told me that if I didn't get to the hospital when I did, I probably would have died. That promo was on the same freaking show. What is happening? And again, I know Adam Copeland worked very hard, and I am glad that he was able to come back and he can do things on his terms. But it is very hard for me to take you seriously when you say that when Bryan Danielson did the same thing
Twice.
And Kenny Omega twice. And Kenny Omega nearly died. So
well, the
take a
problem
step back,
also
my
is
guy.
that you've got Kazuchika Okada, Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, Will Hobbs, Big Bill, Bobby Lashley, Swerve, who's self-made, Kenny Omega. You've got all these guys, this list, and Mox too. I mean, I include Mox in that. Daniel Garcia.
And I want to make that clear. Like, I'm a huge Jon Moxley fan. I'm not.
I love
this Death Rider thing is not working out the way that we thought it was, and it's completely. And you also, somebody made a really good point. I clearly was there watching it live last week on Collision. You had a segment with Rock and Roll Express in 2025.
Yeah.
Why you were, first of all, your whole thing is I want to shake up AEW. I want the young guys to fight. And that Will Hobbs is like, I did that. You said this is what you wanted. I did it. I entered that match and I won it. And now I got a title shot. But last week you were beating up Rock and Roll Express, which feeds into the AARP sponsored title story picture we have here. Like,
I made that joke because it's, I mean, believe me, I am not slagging on that. You get that when you're 50.
We're not being ageist at all. But like you said,
I
at one time.
Great. I mean, discounts aplenty, but I don't want to see the people that are doing them. I don't need, like, with the list of young, high-end, 30 or below talent that they have on their roster, and as good as the women's division looks right now.
Right.
I'm sorry, but the women's stuff is actually the more interesting stuff. Actually, I'm not sorry. The women's stuff is more interesting to me right now than what's going on the other side of things, because I feel like it's. And Keela, you a couple of weeks ago, really, you're the one that like put my antennas up on it, because you're the one who made me realize it was bugging me, is that it's run its course. Like, Death Riders has, whatever you're doing with this, like, get to it, because we're there. Like,
right. And we can't wait on Darby to come back. If
somebody made it was a little over the top, but I tend to agree with the idea that if Darby's committed to going to climb Mount Everest, that's great for him. But that means that he's not committed. But that means he's not committed to being on AEW television right now, and to being wrestler right now.
He's not. Do not put him in the title picture, and do not wait how many ever months it's going to take for him to come back. Because again, I don't know when he's supposed to do this. And then you've got to remember he's going to have time to recover, because that's. I mean, climbing Mount Everest is a completely different beast. He's not like he's going to climb it and the next week he's going to be back on Dynamite. Like, he's going to have time to recover and all that. So you can't wait around forever for him, especially when I don't think that Darby is the one. I don't see. To me, it is not his time. Not when you have Orange Cassidy and Hangman Page and obviously Kenny Omega. Like, there's so many other things we could be doing, and I don't know.
So what
do you do? So what happens? Okay, so say Jon Moxley beats Adam Copeland, beats Jeff Jarrett. Christian, I've heard there's been a rumor that Christian is not going to cash in as long as Jon Moxley is champion. So then what do you do? What happens when he beats those three?
So what do you do is, like, so then if you give it to a young guy and he cashes in, that's like terrible. That's like the worst thing you could do.
Right. And so then some people have, and the thought crossed my mind too, is, does Adam Copeland win at Revolution so that Christian can turn around and cash in on him? And then, but then what? Like, that was that was supposed to be the match going into Wembley last year. The rumor was that it was supposed to be Christian versus Cope in Wembley. And then clearly, obviously Adam got hurt, but that they don't need a title to do that match. I think the story obviously is there. They don't need a title to do it. So, I mean, I absolutely don't want to see Adam Copeland win a title at Revolution and then hold it all the way till All In August. and have
Oh, jeez.
like I don't want that. And I don't know that Christian would wait that long. So do you have Christian cash in and fail, or do you have Christian cash in and win? Which I know Christian is very over, and I love Christian, but with the story that we're doing, I don't want to see Christian as champion right now, I don't think.
No. And I think it comes down to like the Death Riders as a concept. It had a good start, but I think it's weighing down the entire promotion, and they need to figure a way out. And I don't know Jon Moxley in terms of like his ideology behind all of this, but he might need a Paul Heyman to help him finesse what you're trying to do. Because what's the idea? What's the intent and purpose? And how are we going to get people over? Because right now, unfortunately, we have old guys front loaded for you, and that doesn't make a lick of sense.
Especially when I saw somebody point out, like, how can you see the matches that they had at Wrestle Dynasty and how they, the matches they had, and you've got Brody King, and you've got clearly Takesha. Takesha's another story because he's contracted with New Japan. Sounds like he's gonna be basically Kyle Fletcher is gonna do Kyle Fletcher things here. Takesha is going to go do that in Japan, and they're going to run their parallel storylines, and that's how they got rid of that situation for now. But and then you have Will Ospreay. At some point, Ospreay's got to be in the title picture. And again, Okada. I don't know how we're going to go from where we're at right now to where. So what do we do? Say he beats Copeland, he beats Jeff Jarrett on TV probably. Like you said, what are we? So do you have him? There's Jay White or something. So say we circle back to Jay White, but then what if Jay White wins? Then you're gonna have Christian cash in on Jay White.
Yeah, I hate that.
Maybe at some point, maybe they do a match where Christian puts his contract on the line and somebody wins it from him, or Jon Moxley could do like he did with Darby. He finessed his way into the title match when they decided, you know what, Darby's not going to be Bryan Danielson. Let's have Jon Moxley do it. And he finessed his way in, and he's like, you're going to give me, he bullied his way into getting a title shot. So perhaps Nick Wayne turns on.
Is Orange Cassidy still in the picture here, or is
he was until? But I guess because he lost the singles match at Full Gear and he lost the 4-way, and he said last week he doesn't know where he goes from here, but he's going to keep going.
He's
Sounds
another young talent. That I don't necessarily see him as the champion today this minute, but there's no reason why you couldn't build an Orange Cassidy.
Orange Cassidy, I think to me is the better person to take to dethrone Jon Moxley than Darby Allin.
That would be super interesting because that's one of the original guys. He's the most unlikely of all the so-called pillars to take the thing,
and he wasn't even considered a pillar. It was Darby, right. MJF, Sammy, and
Jack Perry.
Yeah. So, and I don't know what Jack Perry's doing. Sammy's tag teaming with Dustin and ROH. So, Orange Cassidy is an unofficial pillar because he became.
That's old and I know, though. Even that sounds like
he's out of those. He's technically on the older end. I believe that if he's not already 40, he's closer. He's close to it. But I don't consider Orange Cassidy to be. Clearly, he's not over 50. And he is somebody who's been there since day one, and he got over. He proved. Obviously, he redefined that international championship, and he made it the workhorse title. He was an incredible champion, and we can see it. So he has proven that he could be the face of the company, even if it's 6 months or whatever. But yeah, and then Jermaine makes a good point here that Jeff Jarrett gets screwed over by MJF. Yeah, because MJF has thrown his hat back into the ring. He wants his Triple B back, and I swear to God,
I don't want that Burberry belt back.
I don't either. Please stop saying that. He gets screwed over by MJF and loses his career. That puts over MJF as the devil, and that gives Jeff Jarrett a good storyline on the way out. I would not be mad at it, and I could see I could see Jeff sticking around for the Owen and trying to compete in that one more time, type of thing. But yeah, Nikki said that I did appreciate that John Moxley was selling that Hobbs is a legit threat. I was already interested in the match, but it made me more interested. Yeah, last night with the segment, these weird segments they keep doing where Death Riders run in at the end. Like, he did seem to have this, because they cut this, the show goes off the air with Mox looking like, I can't underestimate this guy. Like, I can't, like, he thought he was just gonna wrestle him and be on to the next thing. And John, you have Hobbs who keeps telling that he had told Renee to her face that he was gonna make her husband his bitch. So that's like
Wednesday, her reaction Wednesday when he said
was
that
like,
was like,
Her face cracked. Like, talk about my husband like that? Okay.
right.
Yep,
On national
totally
TV where
Yep.
I can't respond.
Okay. Our
All
next
right.
interview is going to be quite chilly. And when he beats your ass on Wednesday, I'll be right back here smiling, saying, how did it go?
Right.
who's the bitch now?
Right, exactly. And then the question that keeps coming up is like, who's gonna try to do anything to Marina? Like, why is Hobbs backing down from Marina? Like, I get it, she's a badass and she's protecting Moxley. Like, she's very good in her role. And we had a little tease where Willow came down and kind of stepped to her a little bit, and then they left it off, and then they quit. So like, what woman is gonna step up to Marina and be like, you are not running things here? Like, I will, like, well, I mean, obviously I think most people think it should be Stat because of, because she's Stat and what she does. But I mean, Willow made sense because she is another original as well. But just like, I mean, yeah, she made this point before that maybe Beth Phoenix comes in and neutralizes Marina. I mean, perhaps if Adam Copeland wins the title, then yeah, or she does show up at Revolution and get involved there. But then you have to do something with Marina long term to get her, because she hasn't, like, I can't even remember the last time she's wrestled. I don't think they've had her wrestle since she's been part of the Death Riders, right? They just had her
She's been muscled, like,
they just had her put
time.
Jay White in Mother's Milk.
It's kind of sad because
she had her thighs wrapped around some dude in the back, which looked really cool, and they could have built on that, and then they really haven't, other than Hobbs is afraid of Marina, which, I mean, I get it. Marina's scary.
I would be too.
I mean, I get it.
It's terrifying.
Hobbs is like, you know what? I have a title match on Wednesday. I'm just gonna back off.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play around. I don't need to F around and find out with this one.
Yeah, and LaRon brings up a good point. Why is Marina not going after one of the women's titles? That part doesn't make any sense. She's the only person without a title. I think she just doesn't. She's there to be muscle, I guess, and so she doesn't need a title. She has the title of most scary woman on the roster. She don't need no titles.
She protects the schmedium.
The schmedium, yes, she does. Like, her life depends on it.
Maybe she buys them their schmedium shirts.
I mean,
maybe.
Good size.
Can I get 10 schmediums at Walmart, please, for $25?
Yes,
please?
thank you. I need them in various sizes though, because
They do the 3-pack. They need to do the 3-pack with the tricolored ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, they apparently had a sell on green
after
pants because John Moxley wears the green pants. Sometimes Yuta wears them. I think Marina has a pair of green pants.
Well, they've gone now. They've
Pac
gone.
is easy to dress. He just wears the black trunks.
Is up when he upscales, when he dresses up, he has that Henley almost. Almost Henley that has the 3/4 length sleeves medium. That's his
Yes.
I was true. Like, wow, the other day, because it had like the 3 buttons and it like yes. I'm like, dude, that is like every like middle-aged man, like business casual Henley, that Henley or tri-button, like my dad used to wear those back. I mean, like that, it never dies. I love, actually, one of the things that cracks me up about Nigel is he wears the Izod shirt, which makes him a total schmuck. I love it.
Oh, interesting that you bring up Nigel. Last night, so if you haven't had a chance to watch Battle in the Valley, I highly recommend. If you kept your subscription to New Japan World, go check out Battle in the Valley. That show was last night. I was on Collision coverage, and so I missed the first few minutes, and I missed the pre-show, which is apparently where they put Big Teats and Shane Hayes. They put them on the pre-show last night. So I have to go back and watch it. But before Zach came out for his, which was not the main event, the juniors got to main event last night. But before Zach came out, there was a little video package that played, and Nigel narrated it. And I thought that was really interesting little thing that they did, because I believe it was because both Lyric and Phil Lindsay interviewed Zach. I believe it was Lyric's interview. She talked to him about, having the stare down with Nigel at All In, and how he wasn't expecting the pop that he got. And then he hinted that, or he basically said, like, I want to wrestle Nigel. So I thought that was interesting that they had Nigel do their little intro package last night. I was like, oh, that's something to keep in mind for the future. I could definitely see that being a Forbidden Door match down the line. So at least we have that to look forward to, because I don't know who the hell knows what that world title picture is going to look like by the time Forbidden Door gets here, before All In is coming. Who knows what the hell this is going to look like.
I hope the median
I don't
age
know what
is
it's going to
35
look
by
like.
then.
What was that?
I said I hope the median age is 35 by All In.
Right. Maybe he just picks off the old guys.
Agreed.
And then he moves back to like Hangman or Switchblade, or Swerve is doing his stuff with Ricochet.
Yeah, those are the people that I didn't even get to. I want Jay White in the picture because I just love Jay White. But
Jay White should have been in the picture a long time ago.
Great.
He is.
Amazing.
He was a great champion. He was a lot of fun when he was IWGP Heavyweight Champion. It was awesome. I mean, he was beating up Okada, like he was winning it over Okada, which I was mad at the time. But
yes, with the exception of Kenny. Yeah, I mean, I'm here for Kenny Omega becoming belt collector 2.0.
You put that belt
I would put
on
all
right
the
now.
titles on Kenny.
All of them.
Give him the ROH titles too. All of them. Pure.
All of them. All of them.
I mean, I wouldn't. Kenny versus Zach is a match I'm here for. So, I mean, I don't know. But
yes, I'm here for that too. Take that IWGP title off.
LFG.
I love you,
exclamation point.
I love you, Goto, and I'm very excited that you're getting a title shot. However,
yeah, same. I agree.
I like that disclaimer. However,
if Kenny is going to be belt collector, I need him to be 2.0. I need it to be full on belt collector.
That'd be crazy too, because essentially his reign as IWGP Heavyweight Champion was cut short by the fact that he became an AEW member.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he really only had like a 8 months stint, as he did all that work. He finally won it at Wrestle Kingdom. By the end of that year, they were starting AEW. So what, 10 months? He dropped it in the middle, right before G1, probably.
I think
yeah.
so.
And then the Cold War started for a bit when we don't want Kenny.
Stinky
former president
guy.
Person dude, individual. Good riddance.
Which, yeah, exactly. I think that, but I mean, yeah.
Yes. Jermaine says that because Darby Allin told Will Ospreay before he left that he needs to take control, maybe Will Ospreay is the guy to take it off of Mox. Oh, that's a good point. I'd forgotten about that. Then he have him feud with Kyle Fletcher over the title.
Okay.
That works for me. Tony Khan, if you're listening, we have some ideas for you here at Powerbombshells. I know you don't like me. You don't like my questions. However,
other person will just stop asking about the women. He'd like you if you'd stop asking him such.
Well, if he would do things where I wouldn't have to keep asking, then I wouldn't keep asking.
If you would just have a women's main event, then I wouldn't have to keep asking you about it.
Leave me alone. I'll do it in 2027.
Oh, dear
That's
God.
Tony philosophy.
I will hold you to it. I will annoy you until 2027.
She's gonna.
Then I'm gonna be like, all right, you got one. Very good. When's the next one?
2029.
And like, I am haunting Tony Khan. I'm haunting him. He's haunted now.
Ray says, I think Pac wears his ring gear to the airport.
He probably does.
Remember when everybody thought, Nikki pointed this out last night. She was like, remember when everybody thought that Pac there was the joke that he was gonna shrivel up and die because Death Triangles was gone. But then he was rescued by Jon Moxley and he found purpose again. And then now and then I would keep thinking about it. Eddie Kingston's best friend Penta. Because he always talks about my best friend Penta. Not Ray Phoenix. Ray Phoenix is just there. He tolerates him, I guess. But his best friend Penta is getting ready to go to WWE. I was like, poor Eddie Kingston. He's going to come back. John Moxley is now with his nemesis Claudio, his arch rival, is now part of his group. Penta is gone. Poor Eddie Kingston. I did see yesterday, he posted in a story, because Nikki showed me, and then Eddie's story came up. He is working with Cesar Bononi, who does a lot of, I believe his contract with AEW has been gone. RIP the wingman. But he does a lot of training with wrestlers, and he's been training with Eddie, and he posted like a series of pictures yesterday. Eddie has gone full on salt and pepper beard. His beard has gotten a little like not quite like Yuta, but he's looking very grizzly, and I think he's probably gonna be super pissed off when he comes back.
Yeah,
maybe he comes back and dethrones John Moxley because he sided with Claudio Castagnoli of all people. So
he comes back and fixes everything. That'd be fine.
He finally gets his title.
I'm good with that. You can come back and fix everything and be like, it's this. What have you done in my absence?
Right.
He's like
ruined everything.
He's like delivering the pizza in the fiery apartment. Like, what am I coming back to?
Right. Exactly. I do miss the wingman. What a time. What a time. Jermaine says that he thinks the problem with the Death Riders is that he believes Shane McMahon was supposed to be part of this gimmick, and since he's not going to be part of it, that's why it's falling flat on its face. I don't think Shane McMahon was ever coming. I think that was just them trying to get publicity. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. And I guess I could kind of see that, perhaps that's why it fell on its face, but I don't think Shane was ever coming. I think that was just trying to grab some attention. I think that's just, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there were plans, and maybe we'll find out in like a year from now. Hey, you remember that storyline did not work out because it all fell apart because Shane McMahon was going to be the linchpin to the story.
Oh my God. When I said that Moxley and a Heyman, I did not mean Shane McMahon, because no.
You better clarify that real quick.
Let me clarify that right now for the record.
Don't put that out in the universe.
When I said that Mox needed a Paul Heyman to finesse his story, I did not mean Shane McMahon, who can barely remember his lines. No. Mm-mm. No. Take it back. I'd rather him resurrect the ghost of Terry Funk to be his advisor before you hire Shane McMahon to do anything.
Please. And I say that with love. I love Shane McMahon, but I love
Shane O'Mac.
I love that man. I never want to see him in AEW.
He needs to stay on his side of the field, though.
He does.
We do not need a
He's
McMahon
just one of those guys
ever in this company.
Or as my parents used to tell us when we were on road trips, that's your side of the car and that's her side of the car. And you need to stay on your side and she stay on your side, and don't touch each other and don't get on each other's side. It's okay. You can like each other, but you don't get to like be on the same side.
He said Shane, who takes out his own knees during a promo.
Yeah.
Bless his heart.
Poor baby. Tore the quads up like his dad.
I was gonna say, is he torn it? Did he tear his quad just like thinking about it?
Like damn Kevin Nash out here.
Yes.
He took that picture with them and then tore a quad from doing it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
The way Snoop actually saved that segment, like he
said,
my God,
of all people, Snoop
was on the I got it.
He's like, Shane, I got it. I will save it. Miz, I will help you out here, because Miz was like, TF do I do? And Snoop is like, I got this.
Snoop being the ring general, I got this, y'all. Calm down. I got this under control. We're gonna do a hard out in 5 minutes, because this was unplanned, obviously.
I love him. No, that was beautiful, because you knew. I mean, anyone that was hardcore understood what was going on there and realized it was he just saved. He's so good at what he does. He just saved all of your asses.
He sure did. Y'all better have sent him the finest champagne.
Give him some of that a little bit of the bubbly, as it were.
Send him something for helping y'all out of that situation. And I'm gonna read LeBron's comment, and then these things, because YouTube is a little slow, but our comments. But if we are after this comment, we will try to move on into the last portion of our show,
so that we're not here until the tomorrow's football game or something.
Before, so we're not here for Raw tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on, it moved. Laurent said he's actually surprised we're getting a women's casino gauntlet match. This is historic. This is literally historic. The first time the women have ever gotten this match. How much time do you think it will get? The shortest on the men's side was 18:43. Y'all, we better hit that 20-minute mark. I better see some round numbers.
Nice round numbers. A nice round solid number, 20 minutes even, with Toni Storm, the rookie of the year, winning the gauntlet to win a shot in her home country.
Yes. And then we will find out whether or not this damn show is a pay-per-view, because we still don't know. I talked about this last week. Tony would not commit when he was asked about it in November. He would not say. They still will not. They're very careful about how they talk about it. They're just like, when we go to Australia for Grand Slam, a pay-per-view, because they are making it sound like Revolution is the next pay-per-view. They are not
they
talking about this. So they're while I hope that regardless that Tony and Mariah main event, because this is the story. However, it should be a pay-per-view main event.
Exactly. Or if you're trying to do Grand Slam Dynamite Australia live on Max, then you do this on Dynamite, preferably live.
Yes.
At night, because it's technically early in the morning in Australia. You can get away with it.
Yeah, you do an
It's
early
daylight.
show.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's daylight. Yes, exactly. Jermaine says that if you want a women's main event, it's going to be Mercedes versus either Timeless Sonya or Athena. Oh, I think it's Athena, but that's the exact same thing we talked about last week, Jermaine. It's exactly what I said. Is I thought the main event was going to be Athena versus Mercedes by themselves, but it'll probably be a double main because women can't do it themselves. Because if they're doing Omega Okada 5, then that's clearly a main event anywhere. And again, the women are going to get shafted. And yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be the main event too, which I get it. That is the main event match wherever it's at. But Mercedes and Athena would be an incredible main event in any other company who puts women in their main events on pay-per-views. And on that note, yes, we know it's January 12th. We're 12 days in the new year. But we're still going to talk about our best of 2024 because last weekend there was a lot going on with Wrestle Dynasty and Wrestle Kingdom and Dynamite going to Max, all of that. So I asked him, I was like, do you still want to do best of 2025? She's like, it's soon, it's close enough. Why not? We wanted Keela to be here too, to talk about our best of 2024, 12 days into 2025. It's fine. We've already had some match of the year contenders for 2025.
Yep. That's okay. Observer only put theirs out like recently. It's not too late. Plus, if people they want to hear what we thought, so they're gonna care about it. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think it's too late. It's just the perfect time, especially for us. We're never on time for anything, so we're on wizard time.
We're on wizard time.
Again, this is our wizard best of 24.
Okay, so we only do a handful of topics, I guess categories, I should say. So I will start with you, Keela. What was your moment of 2024?
Ooh, well, from a pure WWE slant, I will say Cody finishing his story was the best moment of 2024 for me because it almost didn't happen. Dwayne said I wanted to be in the main event of WrestleMania, and the fans said nope. And that was the biggest course correction in WWE history.
Yeah,
and
it was.
I'm glad they pivoted. Y'all trying to play me with that documentary because it was always a plan. Lies. So I'm glad. Don't play with me. I want the actual uncut documentary of everybody fighting backstage.
Yeah.
Okay. I want the footage of Paul and Rock cussing at each other about this is what we're not going to do. I want that extended footage, not that bullshit we saw on YouTube. But Cody finishing his story. That was the moment for me.
That was a good one. Mel, what's your moment of the year?
I was a little torn, but because of who he is and what I've wanted for such a long time, I think my moment of the year was actually Zack Sabre Jr. winning the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
That was a good one.
Finishing his story in a weird way, but or
Yeah.
at least like culminating a long process that it just Zach's great. When he just came in and took over TMDK and like declared himself the leader of it, that was like the
front
greatest
man.
thing in history. He has not become like he didn't become a champion just like any of these like he's like put people over as a part of this. Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita are wonderful. Like it's great, and that was a really like I was so excited.
Yeah. Good.
When he won. That's something I'd wanted for a long time. Yes, they did.
This one it was interesting when I was trying to decide my moment of the year. I had thought about one that I had thought, and I said it at the time when it happened last year. I was like, oh, this is already a top contender for moment of the year. And it was when Sonata wrestled Naito at Wrestle Kingdom last year. Naito beat him. Sonata got really emotional, cried. Naito wanted to do the big roll call, and Evil tried to mess it up, and Sonata saved it to allow Naito to have that moment that he wanted for so long. And I love that moment. However, I have a tie for I guess I technically have one for WWE and one for AEW. For AEW, it was Sting's retirement when his sons came out with him and they were dressed as him. And I was there live for that. So to see it, like we got the really cool video package, which was really awesome. And, Sting is sitting in a theater and he's watching like these moments of his career. And then he comes out and he's flanked on either side by his sons who are dressed as him. And that was a really cool moment. And the match itself obviously was great. And then we had the moment afterwards, when he actually retired and he said, he spoke to the fans. Like, so that was a really, really huge moment. But then I think my other really big moment was the Wyatt Six finally making their TV debut. Yeah. And it finally, the build up was so good, and then they had to nail it. Like they could not get that wrong, and it was perfect. It was everything that it should have been. We got introduced to all the characters. We see that they are not people to be messed with. They will make Chad Gable look like he has a bullet to the head. Like they did all this cool stuff, and they honored the memory of Bray Wyatt and what he wanted to do with his brother, but also made it their own as well. And there obviously has been some questionable choices that they've been making with the Wyatt Six as of late, but I think that moment was just everything that it should have been, and it was incredible to watch. And so I think, and as much as I love that Sting moment, they're just tied for me. I think and I was like, it was really hard. And I was like, I'm just going to pick one of each because I thought it was really, really great. But then, like you said, you have Cody finishing his story. You have Zach finally winning. You have Danielson finally becoming an AEW champ.
Well, and it's funny because I have Sting in here as one of my tied, and also, and the one that didn't get brought up that I wasn't sure was when Mariah turned on Tony. Was one of the
that was another moment.
Because it was kind of a three-way tie, and I just was like, because the SJ winning was such a huge deal, but it was Sting's retirement that moment because they did such a nice job with it, Zach, and then the Mariah turning on Tony because we all thought it was coming, but they kind of swerved us a little bit on when it actually happened. And it was such a huge moment. I mean, it was
right. And and that story was such the trajectory of everything, which I get, that may be something that comes up later, but that was a really, you can't talk about their feud without that moment. That was such a huge moment. And then we have some replies. Maria says the Sting's retirement match was her best moment. Nikki said that was awesome seeing it in person. It was one of those moments you'll never forget. Absolutely. And then Fernando says that Bryan versus Will Ospreay and Punk joining forces with Roman and the OG Bloodline at War Games are his best moments of 2024. Also very excellent. Yeah. There was a lot of really good stuff last year. Okay, so for our next category, Kilo, what was your show of the year?
All right, it is a tie between Revolution for AEW and WrestleMania Night 2 in Philadelphia. I thought both shows were great in terms of Sting's retirement. My only quibble is I just wish they did the promotion for Sting's retirement a bit better by hitting cities weekly to say this is the last time you'll see Sting in the city. Kind of how they're doing John Cena's retirement tour. Make it a bigger event. But they centered at the Coliseum. They sold it out. Not a seat was empty, and they focused on that as the main event. And I loved it. As you mentioned, the main event, the entrance of his son, hearing Metallica again, all of that was just tremendous. And then WrestleMania night 2 in Philadelphia. Night 1 was good, but night 2 was the far better show in terms of crowd reaction. The temperature was warmer. It wasn't cold as shit out there. And
right. They were freezing on night 1.
Oh, yeah, they were shivering. Them poor babies
They're like
out
trying to
there.
cut promos, and they were so cold that their voices were actually, because when you get that cold, you're shivering, so your voice actually quivers a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes. It was like a more comfortable 60 the next night, and Michael Cole was like, "It's warm. That's why they're louder tonight, because it was cold out there."
I know that part of the country. I'm very familiar with it, and it doesn't matter that time of year. That's the cold. It's cold.
It's cold.
It's damp, and because it gets like off the water. It's icky.
Right. But overall, it was a great show. Cody finishing his story, Bayley winning the championship. Really good show. Bayley and Io, I think that's one of the more underrated matches of the year. That was
I would agree.
So good.
Absolutely right. That was a great match.
Yeah.
Mel, what was your show of the year?
It's funny because I went with Revolution also, because that was like I said, when I kind of switched it up and I was like, okay, this was the, moment. This was the show. That Revolution was really, really good. He did such a nice job with the whole thing. And there were other matches on there and you forget. Like there were other great matches. I think there was that Takeshita match was on.
Takeshita and Ospreay, like on paper, was great, and then I was like, I did not know I was getting a 5-star match in person today. I think, that was like, I'm here for Sting's retirement, but I'm getting a 5-star Takeshita match right now
because that was in the running for matches of the year for me. I mean, that one was something it was a complete. I really enjoyed Wrestle Kingdom. 2024 so what Wrestle Kingdom 18 it would have been, I think, or something,
right?
I thought it was awesome. They had Danielson Okada was there, but I think that Revolution kind of took the year because of what it was and what it meant, and we got to see a wrestler go out on his own terms in a wonderful way, and it's great. I mean, I think that's very positive.
Yes. And I do what that reminds me. I meant to go back and respond to I think it was Venkin earlier that was talking about the Sumi Sakai retirement match. It was that he heard it was really good. It was really good. And Joshi retirements, which I have not seen many. I don't even know if that was my first one, but I've heard a lot of people saying that Joshi retirements are unlike anything they've ever seen, and the way they're handled. And it was Sumi's retirement match it was a lot. And like Garrett even responded to me and he said he thinks that's the most, and the crowd, like it was carrying, the crowd was into most of the show, but they were really into Sumi and her retirement match. And then the post stuff that they did afterwards, it was really handled really, really well. As far as my show of the year, Revolution is up there. In part because I was there and it was one of the coolest shows to be a part of, and I'm so glad that I went. But I think my show of the year is probably All Out because that show was absolutely for the sickos. Like All In, great. All Out, I went back and watched like the next day, and it was definitely for us, the sickos. We got like just this insane stuff, and I really there were so many great matches. So I think for me, All Out was probably just barely beats out Revolution as my show of the year. And then Maria says that Full Gear was her best show. That Full Gear was really good this year. Or last year. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good show. LeBron says that AEW isn't bad at promotion, unfortunately. Yeah, sometimes they are. I mean, they did do a few things on Twitter where they'd be like, your last time to see Sting, but it was on Twitter. Like they weren't promoting heavily on TV. It was like, hey, your tickets are on sale. This is your last chance to see Sting. So they did it that way. And I'm like, you could have done that.
You need to understand that not as many people are on social media like that as they think they
Exactly.
are.
Well, and people who are going to want to see Sting's retirement, a lot of them are not on social media. That's not where
No.
you get.
Not
That's
that
not,
age at all.
that's not where most of Sting's demographic is at.
No, you
No.
should have said it on your TV. It should have been on your
I
TV.
say,
You
like-
should have been interviewing people on the local and morning news. Those morning news shows are always looking to fill space.
Yeah.
Like
And
I've
they
been
love
encouraging
an
my local
anniversary or a retirement story.
yeah, they love that. I mean, they've had people from all the shows come on one of my local morning shows all around here because one of the anchors happens to be a wrestling fan. So they get people on there. He gets people on there and he interviews them because the other people on the show have no clue, of course. So it's kind of funny to watch, but there's always somewhere you can be promoting those things. And
Yeah. Right.
yeah.
And at this point, I mean, Lord, at this point, you could have gone to radio and gotten some Sting fans.
Oh heck yeah!
I mean, of
think
course,
people
they
would
ended
be
up being
shocked.
a sellout, but like, yeah, you could have.
Sports radio, like sports and news
Right.
talk radio, are still. They haven't.
A
Those
lot
are
of them
like
grew up watching Sting,
yeah.
so
That's-
you could have.
And they don't go. What I think is funny because even when I like during the season and stuff, I will listen to Seattle sports talk radio. Like I will put it on in the background and I will listen. And then when they talk about the
Right.
Seahawks and what I want to listen to and hear about, and when they're interviewing the coaching staff and everything else, like one of their broadcasters, their morning guys, is a huge wrestling fan, and so they have started covering just what the hell, Slick Hawk's
Right.
a fan. So we're going to talk about it.
Did you see Dave Meltzer's tweet? He came up my timeline yesterday that they in some sort station in California was talking about New Japan being in town, or they said Japanese wrestling and they thought it was sumo wrestling.
Oh, jeez.
He said they didn't even mention that Raw had been in town, on Monday in LA and for their big show, but said Japan that there was a Japanese show tonight and it was for sumo wrestling.
Oh my god.
I was like, oh bless them. There is
Oh, America.
it just made me
Please
laugh.
change.
It's really funny. Please change. Please do. Okay.
Anyway,
On that
let's go.
note, we're gonna have Keila tell us her wrestler of the year. And this can you can do both male and female, or if you want to be genderless, you can just say whoever.
Oh man. So I'm gonna cheat.
Oh,
I'm gonna
goody.
go 3 different promotions for 3 different people.
I'm gonna cheat
Hey.
on something that has no rules to begin with. All right.
Exactly. I'm
Let's
gonna
go.
triple dipping.
But
So
not
I'm
triple
gonna-
B.
Right.
Not triple B.
This is-
We're never doing that.
This is a list for the sickos.
A list for the sickos. The one time I'm a sicko for triple dipping here. So for WWE, my wrestler of the year is Cody Rhodes. By far, there is no contest. The quarterback, QB1, the guy. Dwayne said, "You're the guy, Cody. So you're the goddamn guy." So congrats to you. AEW, Will Ospreay, no contest, no doubt about it. Automatic 5 stars every time he hits the ring. No doubt about it. He will continue that trend in 2025. Ring of Honor, Athena, the end.
Yes.
Heard.
I mean, what else is there to say? Athena. That's it. Period. Mel, it's your turn.
I mean, the best women's wrestler right now is definitely Athena. I mean, that's no kind of, for me, it was ZSJ because of what he accomplished this year. Again, I fall back on, because of Zach's perseverance. He's only the second non-Japanese wrestler to win the Tokyo Sports Award for that. I mean, that's not even Kenny Omega. I was like, was it Kenny? And my friend was like, no, it was Bob Sapp of all people.
Yes.
I'm like, wow.
He kept talking about it in that interview with Lyric. It was talk about Bob Sapp.
I'm like, but I mean, just everything that he's done over the years during COVID, during everything, learning the language, becoming like, he is a fan favorite amongst some of the crazy stuff that has been going on in New Japan. There's some new stuff going on there, and I think AEW is in real trouble right now. They need to be afraid that if they don't sort of course correct a little bit, that they're going to get overtaken by some of what's going on in Japan. And that's going to look kind of funny because it's like you just took all their best stars. They were forced to like make all these kids push them to the front because they had to.
Right.
And the kids are showing out.
Yeah.
And New Japan is on its way. This Wrestle Kingdom felt more like a regular Wrestle Kingdom, like pre-pandemic Wrestle Kingdom than anything so far. And AEW needs to kind of be afraid of that. Because
competition, we talk about this. Competition breeds excellent. Like, you have to step up or you're going to get stepped on. So,
yeah. And I think Zach I do believe, and it's harder in a foreign promotion because you're a foreigner in a promotion like that. I think it's a little more difficult to be the top guy and to get that kind of garner that level of respect from the fan base. Yeah. And I mean, that's pretty remarkable. And he's still a pretty young guy too. I mean, when you really look at it. And I mean, even when Bryan Danielson at the end of the day said that he's the best technical wrestler in the world. So, I mean, with settled, the guy who the award's named after has made it official. I mean, I think I'm very. This was the year of Zack Sabre Jr. for me, and I that's where I feel. So I mean, Ospreay would be the obvious choice, and he was the first person that jumped into my mind. But when you talk in terms of difficulties that the promotion itself was having, which AEW has struggled, but it has not. It's not in the tank. It signed a $585 million deal with Warner Brothers. Like, it's fine. It's doing awesome.
Yeah.
New Japan is really struggling. And they're struggling economically, they're struggling culturally, and they're struggling with all their stars getting totally taken over by other promotions.
Right.
So I got to kind of give it to him that's an uphill battle. He kind of carried that. So that's my guy.
And when I was thinking about Wrestler of the Year, I thought of something else that I had said way back in the beginning of 2024. I thought for Wrestler of the Year, I was going to be talking about Mustafa Ali because he had a huge beginning of 2024. And he was, even leading into 2024, he was cutting the promos. We knew he was getting ready to go on this world tour, and he's still doing that. Like, he's still all over the place. Like, I think he put up his schedule, or he tweeted a couple days ago about like the 3 different places, and he hinted at us, he said, and some surprises along the way, which is interesting. And I thought that we would be talking about him more, and I don't know if it was going to. I mean, he went to TNA, he was the X Division champion for a bit, and he was still doing promo stuff, but it just seems like he kind of just was not getting the traction that he had gotten. And I'm a little surprised because he was having good matches from what I watched a lot of the matches that he had, especially over like the Mania weekend. And I really thought he was gonna be my Wrestler of the Year, but that is not the case. And that's not to say he had a bad year, because I think, and I still love Mustafa, but yeah, I have to, I mean, obviously Athena, like, she always will, she'll always be like, she'll always have that spot, I think. And because she's Athena and she's incredible. And now last year she was injured, and that definitely took some time. She was not competing as often, and she's already starting 2025 off the way that she is now. If she can continue that, and if she finally gets to AEW's roster, and I expect her to have an incredible 2025. But yeah, my Wrestler of the Year is also Zach. I am disappointed at how much attention he is not getting in these conversations. I mentioned that last week, and that's not to say that Cody and Roman Reigns and Will Ospreay don't deserve these things, because and it's a tough year. Like, and obviously these are just this doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's not like, don't need to lose sleep over trying to rank these things. It's just what we like. But I would like to see Zach in this conversation more, because of all of the reasons you said. And Zach we had the summer of Sabre, and we had the G1, and we had the New Japan Cup, and we had all of these things, and then he finally won the big one, which is what a lot of us who have watched him over the last 8 years in Japan. Some of us saw him in he was in the CWC back when that was the thing. He was in Evolve. Like I saw him here with my local I saw him with PWX, my local promotion. Met him while he was here. Like, so that's a guy that I've been watching for a long time. And he did have that commitment. Like, and during the pandemic, he stayed in Japan. He completely committed himself in that. And he has said, like, his dream was always New Japan. Like, he was always the Cerulean Blue. Like, he always wanted to be there, and he's not going anywhere. And they rewarded him for that. Not that he didn't earn it, because clearly the man has put in the work. But I think they also rewarded him for his dedication to that company and to not leaving when all these other people left and I don't think anybody, you got to get paid, and in the wrestling business that's a hard thing to do, and you go, and then maybe they wanted other challenges, and they all have their reasons for leaving, but Zach stayed, and Zach had an incredible year, and it became the year of Sabre. It moved on from the summer of Sabre and has gone into 2025. He had a great match with Hechicero last night. Like, the two of them are really good. And he, even after the match, Zach was like, I want to wrestle again. Like, I'm ready to do this again. When do you want to do it? And I feel like Zach is underrated he does get a lot of attention, I think, for people who actively watch New Japan on a regular basis. But I feel like he's still, in the big scheme of things, he is somebody who is underrated. And having the year that he has, and not enough people are talking about it, because if there are other wrestlers having that year, and maybe in a different, if they were wrestling, he was wrestling for another company and had that year, I'm sure he'd be, a front runner for a lot of people. But I love Zach, a huge fan of his, and he was putting on, and like the TV title, I know that was more 2023, but like the TV title, he established that to make it what it is. And you and I gave those matches a lot of love. And so I'm basically repeating myself and repeating you, but yeah, it's Zach for me. And that's why I made him the picture for this week. Because he's not getting, I guess I wanted to show him some love. And then yes, Zach does deserve, I agree with that. And let's see here. We'll move on to the next category. Keela, what is your match of the year?
Oh boy. This is a tough one
yes,
to decide on. There are so many options across so many different promotions, but I'm going to land directly in AEW, and I'm going to select not any match involving Will Ospreay, because that would be cheating. I have to pick one. So I'm going to pick Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. That is my match of the year.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like sometimes that match gets overlooked with all of the matches that Ospreay had. That still it gets, and that match was incredible.
That's how this year was like stacked.
Yeah, and I'm looking at my 2024 list here, and I had like 22 matches to choose from. And that's not even considering my honorable mentions, which again, I don't really have any rules for what is considered match of the year and what is honorable mention. I will just place it on there, and sometimes I'll put it as an honorable mention, and we'll eventually move it to my match of the year contender list. I don't have any rhyme for a reason for that, but yeah, I had 21 matches, and that match was on there because it was incredible. Mel, what's your match of the year?
I landed on because it's my theme of this thing here was New Beginnings in February of 24, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson. When
my list.
When Bryan Danielson did declare Zack the best technical wrestler of the indie world. And I mean, we finally got the full match. There were a ton to choose from. My honorable mentions included Ninja Mac versus Robbie Eagles at Best of Super Juniors, and also this is a little sleeper match for people that were off promotion. Maki Itoh versus Minoru Suzuki was actually one of my favorite matches of the year. It was freaking great. I believe that was on Noah. It was one of their early in the year shows.
Yeah.
For just great. There's a moment where she pokes the bear and it looks like she's gonna get smacked, and the way that he reacted, I'm not gonna spoil it. They kind of a little bit of soulmates in the ring.
Yeah. Which is so funny.
So that one, those were, again, there was a glut. It was hard to even, I at some point stopped taking down matches and was like, oh no, I didn't write down enough matches, and then went back through my notes and realized that I had written down plenty of matches. So but
yeah.
I mean, for the topper, I'm gonna do the technical wrestling because that's my wheelhouse anyway. But
right,
really great year.
It was. I mean, we had Okada Osprey at World's
I know
End.
that was also one of the ones I had to debate.
4 days before, 3 days before the end of the year, they just put in a banger, and I was like, "Well, wait a minute." And
that was my between. I had to tie break between these two.
And then I have even one of my matches of the year is West Coast Wrecking Crew versus Dirty Work, which was at which is Filthy Tom and Fred Rosser, and they did a best 2 out of 3 falls match at New Japan Fighting Spirit Unleashed. That was insane. One of the craziest 2 out of 3 falls matches. And there was a last man standing match between Mance Warner and Effie. That's been a really big story, and GCW it's been their biggest story. There's some Revolver has had some really good matches. There was a shit ton of matches, and I was just I don't know what to pick. And both of the matches both of you said were incredible. I think Mercedes and Stephanie Vacker was one of my favorite matches last year.
Yes, in the chat here, Fernando says Swerve versus Hangman.
That's what I was gonna say.
I totally forgot. I even totally forgot that I was
Hangman. And what's crazy is while that Steel Cage match was incredible, and that's probably what I put, I think, for Wrestling Inc. I think we had to pick 3, and I think that's what I settled on for my match of the year, just because I think it's the most memorable of it, but maybe not the wrestling wise, because I have it right here. Hangman Swerve 3 on Dynamite, February the 7th was an incredible match too. And so I feel I guess I'm gonna go probably with Swerve Hangman. But this is the one that and again, I know it doesn't matter. It's okay that I don't have, but I've had it. It's hard to pick just one, but I feel this match stood out for a lot of reasons. This match was absolutely for the sickos. I mean, we had a freaking needle in the mouth in this match. This match was insane. It was intense. It fit perfectly with the story they've been telling. It wasn't out of place. It felt like a natural progression. It wasn't just doing things for shock value or to get people talking. It was where the story was going. And even you have Hangman talking about it last night in his promo about why he is where he's at. And he said, I thought I had my family protected. And that changed in one night, because somebody figured out where I was and came into my home. And he was and so I did what I had to do, which was burn down that man's house and keep him from having, the same, he took that from me. So I took it from him. And now I have Christopher Daniels tackling me and putting his hands on me. And I was you're trying to come at me as a friend. And he's and he said, I could not look at myself. I did not want to come to work after Swerve did what he did to me. And I will never be that man again. I will never go back to that. And so now we're having Heyman and Christopher Daniels in a Texas death match next Saturday on Collision. That's where this match has driven. Swerve has driven him back, and we know Texas death matches are his wheelhouse. That's where Hangman shines. And
True
Christopher
story.
Daniels is, and I know we just had this conversation, but this is not a title picture. Christopher Daniels is 53 years old, and that man can still go, just like Kaz can still go. I am really looking forward to this one. And so, but it just shows you where this match, it has led, where it's landed Hangman and where it's left Swerve. And they do need to take a break from each other. And I'm glad that Swerve has kind of gone off in this direction with Ricochet. And Hangman has Christopher Daniels, but then what? Like, what happens after that? So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. But yeah, I love that match so much. And then Nikki said one of my favorite surprises was when Nigel and ZSJ showed up and All Out. It should have been obvious, but it was fun when you don't overthink who's going to show up. Yes, exactly. Maria, poor CD is about to catch a beating. Yeah, he is. And he said, he was like, I will make you bleed. So I expect a lot of blood. I expect this match to be awesome. I have to cover it, which I'm not thrilled about, is just because it will take me out of the match. So I definitely know I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it where I'm not having to write down everything that's happening at the same time. But I can't wait for this match. And Nikki said she thinks she'd have to agree with Swerve versus Hangman as the best match. Do you mean the one at the cage match or the one before that on Dynamite? I think she means the cage match.
That was good. I mean,
yeah, but there were so many damn good matches.
Yeah, there were.
It's hard to pick. All right, Keela, what are you looking for in 2025?
Ooh, I'm looking for AEW to find balance. We've been saying that for a good minute now. I think that running smaller arenas is helping for sure, but tighter storylines. We got to get this Death Rider thing situated. That's my biggest concern right now, and get rid of the AARP World Championship scene. We got to rectify that early this year. We have to just get this out of here. The average age of a wrestler vying for a championship is 65. No, we cannot do that. I cannot.
They're gonna fight, and they're all gonna
get those cards at 50.
They're gonna go get their senior discount at McDonald's the next day.
Get those ARP cards at 50 now.
You can get them younger because I have one because
I have one because Bob is over 50. So
I have one because when I switched phone companies, she was like, "You can sign up for AARP and get $12 a month off of your cell phone bill." And she's like, "You can be any age," and so I have been an AARP subscriber for 3 years. I like saving money.
I love ARP. They have a ton. It's exactly right. They have a ton of
$16 a year. But I still,
it's nonprofit, so it's a write-off.
Exactly. I love a good deal.
It's like my medical alert. I pay for that and my AARP, and those two things are like lifesavers for really real. One is like this got the full package. They just like know my things. They can look right in there. They've got all the stuff I need. It makes it safer for me to walk around. It's nonprofit also, so these things are write-offs. They're worth it.
And you get a
I never look at the deal in the face.
Various seniors. One day I'm going to open up the mailbox and I'm going to have an AARP magazine in there, and it's going to have AEW. It's going to have AEW's World Championship scene.
Yeah, maybe.
On the front of it.
They'll have like a word. Maybe they'll have
John Moxley's not old. And say John Moxley's
they'll do a word search for AEW.
Oh my god! Oh my god, guys! Come on now. I get those.
They're hilarious.
It's going to be
so much fun.
I did that when I was little. My grandma used to get like the maturity magazine for they rebranded. I did the word search too. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
But I would love behind
crosswords. There's word searches. There's like connect the dots. There's all kinds of fun stuff in it.
Oh yeah.
There's my Medicare one year sent me that book and some seeds.
Hell yeah. I'll take some free seeds.
And how to grow it was like how to grow seeds.
So much like Hangman, I do love my garden. I do love to get into some plants. Because leaves is plants. Yeah. And he also dropped some more knowledge. He did drop some more knowledge on us that animals are like plants, except when they're in the ways that they're not.
Right.
Yes. Blue Sky
Newsflash, dumbass.
Is the best.
Yes.
He says, you ain't getting wrestling on my feed. You're going to get garden tips. And I love that.
Me too.
I'm here for it.
Let's go.
Green Thumb Hangman.
Swerve can't take that from him. He is still, that man is still going to garden. He is
anxious millennial gardener.
He is an anxious millennial gardener. And then there was one plant he took a picture of and he's like, I don't know what this is. I should probably Google it. But
you know what he needs? I have this fantastic app. It's called plantnet.com and it's literally a plant identifier.
I have that.
I use it all the time. I love it.
I went around my backyard because there was just like random things growing and I was like, what is this? And so I did the same thing.
I dumped like a bunch of old seeds into one of my garden beds. And one of the things that ended up coming back every year was the chives. So I have a whole bunch of chives just around.
There you go. Perfect.
They're really pretty when they go to seed.
They
They're like
are.
their flowers are really pretty.
They are really pretty.
Anyway,
Follow us on Blue Sky, and we'll show you what our gardens look like this year.
yeah.
I posted some pictures, a couple of some of the stuff that I had like in my garden last year. So
It's either on fire or snowing, and so everybody's like, I can't wait for gardening season.
I follow, you know how you can follow like feeds on Blue Sky? I follow a gardening feed,
Yeah.
and it's like just looking at plants. Some of them are in like the UK or in like how they grow, because some of them don't have their own yard, so they have like the community garden that they rent lots from. And so I'm learning all kinds of things, just like here, sitting here, I got to get off the internet for a minute. Let me go to the gardening feed, and I'm just going to like all these flower pictures that I see.
That's one of the features I actually like about them is that you can put everything in separate tabs instead of having it all clustered.
I was like, the world is on fire. Let me go look at some gardens that are not on fire.
Plants, pets, and kids. Those are the things you need.
Yes. That's like how my feed is lined up. I love cats, dogs, babies.
Yeah, I want to see your kids. I want to see your plants. And I want to see your pets.
Your pets.
Yes.
That's
let
it.
me see them.
That's my Facebook. My primary reasoning, some of it is that I have people that only understand Facebook, and that's fine.
Yeah, right.
But it's also a heart warmer for me because I get to see like Halloween, Christmas. Those are the best times.
Mm-hmm.
Just loaded up with the cutest pictures in the world.
Kilo, what else do you want to see from wrestling in 2025?
Well, for WWE, I need y'all to go back to 2 hours for both of your shows.
Please.
SmackDown is a struggle bus for me. Like, I'm falling asleep halfway through the show now, and that's not good. So I'm gonna need y'all to shut it back down to 2 hours. Do me a favor, Netflix. 2.5 works for me. I cannot do 3 hours. I do think that this year is going to be huge for women's wrestling everywhere. I feel that for WWE. I feel this is going to be like a really big turning point year for AEW as well. I do see like a women's main event for a pay-per-view in AEW involving the ladies. And I do see someone in the comment section wanting Athena versus Mercedes. I do think that is the biggest match you can possibly book for AEW sometime at a major pay-per-view in a headline position this year. I do believe that. So I do believe that women's wrestling is going to reign supreme in every major promotion this year. TNA, they've been like, the forerunners for a very long time, but I do think WWE and AEW are going to definitely step up because a lot of people are coming back. They're getting healthy. They've been rested, and Mercedes is hitting it now more than ever. And that is scary for this business in a good way.
Yeah, for sure.
The best.
Mel, what are you looking forward to in 2025?
On top of what Keela is saying, like as an addition to that, sort of an addendum, is I'm looking at the New Japan is coming back. It is the New Japan, the next generation, the return and resurgence of New Japan is definitely happening. I think Best of Super Juniors and the New Japan Cup are going to be incredibly competitive this year. I think you're going to see where New Japan had to lean on AEW there for a while. I think you're going to see a little reversal. And there's a lot of irony to that because of them not stealing. I don't think it's stealing. I think work is work, and you take the job that is best suited to you and makes you the most money.
You go where you get paid.
Right. But at the end of the day, this New Japan, it's Tanahashi's retirement year. My dog is very angry at this. And
I get it.
I think that along with, I think AEW needs to step up, or they're going to be facing some stiff competition, it looks like.
And they don't have to worry about ratings as much anymore because their deal is in place. Like the ratings, you can figure out some stuff.
Well, and that's the thing too, is you have to be careful because now people are going to be accustomed to watching wrestling on streaming. It is going to make them more susceptible to subscribing to other promotions that are outside of the range of, because you have now normalized, if both North American companies are on streaming, people are going to be like, oh, streaming wrestling. Well, we've been doing New Japan forever, but
right. Well, AEW is still on TV, but but they've got the 5-year deal, so they're clearly not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So then you've got to course correct.
I mean, I don't think TV is dying per se, but I think
it's gonna come. I think it's gonna come back in a way that people. I think it's gonna come back.
I think it's just gonna be a different. It's gonna be like radio. It's going to have its own place in the media sphere. Sure. It may not be the dominating force, but for a long time,
but it's more accessible. Just like radio.
I just don't think that because there's too much of the population still is too reliant on what they perceive as standard cable, what they come to understand, and also money. It doesn't cost anything to plug into the regular network TV. I get the thing, or it costs the digital antenna, but I can plug my TV in and get at least 12 channels, and I don't think that's going away anytime soon.
No, because you have to make it. We talked about this last week. We touched on the accessibility.
Old people and college kids still need that shit.
Well, and I had, and I told you, we talked about the accessibility and people like that. And on one of the stories that I wrote about Raw, somebody commented and said, I wish I could afford a Netflix subscription. And I was like, and now they can't watch Raw. And so when we talked about that last week, that there are obviously a lot of people subscribe to Netflix, but there are groups of people who cannot afford it, whether they're elderly or college students or just living paycheck to paycheck
or
in this economy.
There's a ton of people in the disabled community who
there's a lot of
factors. A luxury that you can afford. I mean, you have to pick. Am I going to eat this week and take my medicine, or am I going to watch TV? I mean,
am I going to watch Raw?
Right. I mean, am I going to sink my money into 3.5 hours of pyro, or
and real American beer?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, my looking forward basically is what both of you said. My list, because I wrote out a list, and I'm looking forward to All In 2025. I hope to be in attendance. I was already really wanting to go because I feel like they're doing Mercedes Athena there, but now it looks like we're getting Omega Okada 5 there, and I need to be there for that. So and Okada Omega 5 is on what I'm looking forward to, because it's happening at some point, I assume. All In. I'm looking forward to Athena dropping the ROH championship, not vacating and just peacing out. I'm looking for her to drop the title and put a woman over on her way to the main well, not even the main roster, because they're two, they're technically separate, but on her way to AEW, that she puts somebody over. It probably should have been Billy Starks. I don't know. I get keeping the title on her while she's doing her excursion. It makes the most sense. She's defending it in just a few hours. That's what she should be doing. Then that match should not have been against Billy at Final Battle. It should have been somebody else. Could have been Emmy. It could have been Queen Amanada. Could have been a whole host of other women. And then we save Billy to drop the title. I mean, maybe they can still revisit it and do where Billy finally beats Athena on her way out and gets the title then. But so I'm looking forward to her dropping that title this year and not doing an Ember Moon Asuka situation. We're not going to do that here. I think Athena's going to be like, Tony, no, that happened to me, and I'm not doing that to another woman. I am also looking forward to the women finally main eventing a pay-per-view this year. At least one. I'm cautiously optimistic. I feel like we're going that way. And again, you have somebody who has main evented WrestleMania on your roster. You also have somebody in Deonna Purrazzo who has main evented 5 times. If TNA is doing it better than you in your women's division, that's a problem.
Especially when there's so much good storytelling.
We're in year 6. Yeah, you are telling incredible stories. Your biggest story of the year outside of Swerve and Hangman, and I would say maybe arguably bigger, is Timeless Tony and Mariah May, and that deserved a main event spot, and you couldn't find that for them. And then you might have it in Australia, which good for them. Let them main event their home country, but it may not be a pay-per-view. That's a problem. Better figure out a way to do it. And then I also had New Japan on my list of things I'm looking forward to, because for all the reasons you said, I feel like President Tana is starting to see the fruits of his labor and the vision that he set out, that he was kind of forced into, but he is making it work. And you have people like Suji, who are stars, and you've already, and Suji's having these, he's already had incredible matches. You have Takeshita for at least a year. You've got him involved. You have David Finlay, who is most likely re-signing. It sounds like they're still in talks.
That's it. I got my shillelagh. I forgot.
Yes,
there it is.
I love it.
There it is.
Yes, if you missed last week,
it's made out of blackthorn. This is an actual Viking. It's a Celtic style shillelagh there for all you guys there. I made sure I told Sam I'm going to bring this. This is my Christmas present.
Thank you for bringing this. I needed to see that.
And since you mentioned David Finlay, and that's because the English wouldn't let the local population carry metal weapons. And so they crafted these, and they on inspection, they actually look a lot like a walking stick.
Yes.
So, I can beat the crap out of you with it, but it's not metal, and it looks like my walking stick. So it even has that wizard quality up to it. So, real quick in there.
Yes.
Made sure that, because you want, I promised last week that I would show you. So
yes, I'm glad that you were to bring that back. Yeah, and then apparently I hear that they're still in talks with Kevin Knight, so they might be bringing him in. Last night's show, I'm looking forward to. The US shows have been really good. The quality and production of last night's New Japan show was the best that they've had while doing shows in the US. They finally have figured it out, and they looked great. We had, I don't know if I don't want to give anything away. Somebody challenged somebody for Windy City Riot. I don't know if I should give that away. But that's going to be a pretty big match if it gets accepted. I assumed it will. Also, go watch ELP versus Jeff Cobb. They had a really crazy finish. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And in a good way, it was just really, really incredible. So I mean, the whole show was good. I would recommend Sumi's retirement match and that match. Takeshita versus Kushida was really good. Of course, Zack and Hechicero was really good. The whole show was good, but those I definitely would make sure you check out. And then I'm going to come to the comments real quick before we wrap up, because and then of course, like Keila said, please, please, please stop doing 3-hour shows. I cannot. I got excited because I played myself. Read the headline. SmackDown is going back to 2 hours. I was like, hell yeah. And then my editor was like, Sam, that's not happening till like June. I was like, what do you mean? Because apparently nobody in the Slacks that we all read the headline. We didn't open it. So we all played ourselves. Everybody on Twitter talking about it. Nobody. I did the thing that I say I don't do. Stop just reading the headlines. You click it and read the article. And I played myself, and that's what I get. So apparently until like June or July or something, we've got 3 hours SmackDown. And oh my God, is it a chore?
God almighty, it's a chore. Like, I hate it with every fiber of me on a Friday night. I know they're prepping because I think they're getting ready for the WNBA because of the new package deal kicking in, and they're testing the hour. I get it, but Lord, I don't need to be part of the experiment.
I get it. Yep. Yeah. I get it from a business standpoint. I get you lost those 3 hours of Raw. You need the eyeballs over here, but I cannot. I can do it for a pay-per-view, fine, not a problem, because I know what I'm expecting. And I know I'm going to get usually banger matches, and it's going to move quickly. But on a week-to-week basis, it is rough. And everybody's given, and all of us, it wasn't just me, the non-WWE fan. Everybody's like, we got 2 hours of this. We're only 30 minutes into this. We have 65 minutes left of this. We give time. It's hard. It is you
guys are troopers.
And it was funny because I was like, we obviously the love-hated topics, and they were like, we can every single week somebody cannot hate that the show is 3 hours. Like, we have to
we can't always have that. That's like, we just have what you guys need is a disclaimer on your site at the beginning of that says that if we put that down every week, it would be on here every week and it would get repetitive.
Yeah. And so I was like, because I said something about that, and my editor was like, no, we did that last week, and no, you cannot Cannot. But I did find something to love. I did love wait, what was it that I was it was
Exercise.
trying to remember. No, the one that I just did was Tiffany Stratton. Her promo that she cut. She expertly got around some what chants, just didn't even acknowledge them, just went right around them. She looks great, cut a great promo. So I was like, all right. And I will say it again, her cash in, probably the best of all time. If it definitely like top 2 cash ins ever. They did a really, really good job with how they handled that, because we all knew it was coming, just not the way that it came about. And I thought it was really, really well done. So I was like, you can give
clever.
Like, I was like, I see, and they're like, here, you can watch Motor City, but then you're making me watch A-Town Down Under, and I don't want to watch them.
and then
they're like,
and they said, we'll give you like Bianca, and we'll give you like Bailey and Naomi and Nia, and a really good match to supplement A-Town Down. Like, thank you, but I still don't want to see A-Town Down.
Right. That they did that women's 4-way match was laid out really well. They all killed it. They got time, and I was like, see what happens when you let them cook. And somebody said, out of context, that sounds very misogynistic, Sam. You know what I mean?
It's a different kind of cooking.
A different one. Does not involve a kitchen.
No, it's patriarchal, actually, because your brain defaulted to that. So there.
Exactly. Right. Red Velvet.
Don't get so magical with me.
So they do give us like these little flashes, but they're way too spread out, or they come in like 2.5 hours, like 2 hours and 15 minutes in. And so I have to wait a very long time to get to those moments, like the Tiffany Stratton cash in, or the 4-way match that they had, or getting to see Motor City, even though you made me watch it in A-Town Down Under to get it.
Oh God. But I'm just so happy that Motor City's like finding their stride now. Like, they're getting it so good.
They are. And they've got the fun story with DIY, and like how they how they heal DIY as fun. I am enjoying that. I was like, we just got to work on building this tag division up. And I know it's going to take some time, because they did, for a while, they did not care about that tag division.
They sure didn't.
And so now we've got DIY and Street Profits and Motor City, and we're finding ways to get pretty deadly on TV, which is great, because I did not know their game. That I saw them
underrated.
Ago. They are, and I was not familiar with their game, and I was like, wait a minute, okay, I can get into this. And so I was like, now I need more of them, but they're doing the funny little stuff. But yeah, it's getting there. And then you've got Los Garzas, they're good too, so we're getting there. Hopefully in 2025, WWE figures out their tag team division for the men and the women.
Yes, so just get it together.
Yes, so we've got some good comments over here, but I also know that we are Mercedes versus Suzuki was a fantastic match. That was definitely a match of the year right towards the end. For 2025, Mercedes wins the ROH Women's Championship and AEW World Championship, and Okada, I think that was supposed to be for Takeshita for 2020. Oh God, man, Okada and Takeshita. Whew. Yes, please. Man, I also hope we feature some more Beast Mortos, because he has been killing it. I heard that Hologram is supposed to be back soon. I hope Bandito is doing okay and he comes back soon. I hope in 2025 that Bandito can have a healthy year. We go a whole year without any type of injuries or concussions.
Yeah.
Maria says both companies need to hold an all-women wrestling event. I would love to see Evolution 2. I would love to see that. That would be great. I would love AEW to do that. I don't see that happening this year. Maybe in 2029 when we get our second main event. Jermaine says best scene in wrestling to the point they made a holiday video of it was Hangman burning down Swerve's house. Yes, they did.
Oh, did they make one of those fireplaces out of it?
They sure did. AEW
That's
on
fantastic.
TNT. AEW on TNT said that they were gonna do it, and they did. And I watched it for a few minutes, and they had it up for 24 hours. And Swerve was like, quick quote tweeted, and he was like, "What is this?"
That is pretty funny. That's Because my TV apparently had a host of them because they kept popping up on my TV and
yeah,
we were
they
like,
did
look
that
at all
one.
of
They
these.
did it on TNT's YouTube. They did it on TNT's YouTube channel, not
That's
AEW's.
pretty
if I
funny.
remember correctly.
I will give that. That's pretty awesome.
I would love to see Queen Aminata be the ROH Women's Champion. I would like to see some. Also, in 2025, can I see some more damn Emi Sakura? I know she's been in Japan and doing her Choco Pro stuff, but please put this damn woman on TV and let me see her some more. Maria says Timeless Tony Storm was the best character work in wrestling in 2024 among all the men and women. Yes. Too much filler in 3-hour shows. Tiffany's cash in was the best since Edge did it to Cena. I would agree with that. I need Beast Mortos. You know what? Let's put Beast Mortos get some wins. 2025. Let this man cook. Give him some wins. And Ray says Athena should put someone over on her way to regular television appearances. I've seen her more on Stardom shows in the past week than Dynamite and Collision all of last year. Unfortunately, that is a very sad fact. Laurent says 2025 needs to be the year that AEW normalizes multiple women's matches on both shows. Please.
Your comment to Tony's ears, Laurent.
We don't ask for much. I mean, we do, but it always comes back to giving us what we want, which is the women, and not this whatever this is you're doing.
We get hysterical about it, so you know.
Yes, we do get hysterical about it. All right, I think that we have made it. Thank you guys for hanging out with us for nearly 4 hours.
Yeah, right.
We were not planning to go this long, but that's just what happens when you have great people on with you, and you have great people in the comments, and you have how about I was like, man, we've got like 2 topics. We can do that and then knock these out. Here we are.
That's okay. We appreciate.
Here we are, going longer than our episode of Raw.
Well, it is 25. We've had a nice long,
going longer than an episode of SmackDown.
There you go.
Nikki.
No pyro though.
Nikki said, no, we don't have any. Nikki said, that's why TK doesn't like you. You're too
hysterical. It's true. Here, wait. Hey, I gotta There's our pyro.
Yay!
Whee! Powerbombshells. All right, there we go.
Drop some super chats and maybe we can afford some sparklers.
There you go. Maybe we can make a background out of it. Get those 2 for $3 sparklers at the hardware store.
Or just get those little popper. I mean, they don't have any lights, but you can hear them. We'll just throw poppers.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maria. Keela, tell the people where they can find you.
Yes, please.
And plug anything you want to plug.
All right. So y'all can find me on Blue Sky, Lady Wrestling X, and on Twitter. I'm hardly on there these days, and I'm still on there for promotional purposes. I do the wrap every Wednesday morning with Scott Young, recapping the week that was in WWE. And we're trying to kind of restructure the show because WWE and these 3-hour shows are way too long to cover every single week. So we're going to try to hit the top stories of the week for WWE to kind of get us between now and the Royal Rumble and NXT Vengeance Day and all the shows in between now and WrestleMania. And I also do a GH-related podcast called The Sweeney Sessions that drops every Monday morning. I talk about the week that was for General Hospital. Sam knows about it. Mel does too. It's basically a recap of all of the mess that's happening on GH because GH, like WWE, is a gimmick.
Yeah,
it is a gimmick, and they used a ton of pyro in a different way last week.
All right.
They even had to put a disclaimer, bless them. They had to put a disclaimer before the show on social media on, I think it was Wednesday's episode. They were like, we apologize because of the LA fires. This might hit a little close to home. Please take that into account when you watch today's episode.
Yes,
we record these things like a year in advance.
I think they're are they 3 weeks in advance, Keela?
Oh, okay.
Because things are so crazy with them now. They used to be like 6 weeks, and I was like a month out. So they did this like a month ago.
But I think it's Young and the Restless. That's what, a year in advance. They're a year ahead, right?
It's days. Ooh. It's days. Who's a year? in advance.
Days of Our Lives. They film a year.
That's because they have been around. Actually, those 3. It's funny. They have been around forever. Forever.
Yes. Like Days already filmed Christmas 2026 already. Am I exaggerating? No. Because that's how far they film ahead. No lie.
Dang.
That's crazy. I did
Yeah.
not realize I knew that. Wow. I mean, and I know, and then I guess putting it in that perspective, like I know, oh yeah, they've already filmed a year in advance and they're, and then I was like, but yeah, thinking, okay, it's January 2025 and we've already filmed Christmas. So they're like, that's
in the
insane.
new heading into the next year. And what's crazy is that unfortunately they can't do anything with their storylines because they're stuck.
Right.
So if you get rid of somebody, like say like they got rid of their writer like midway through last year, you won't see the changes until March of this year because that's how far ahead they tape.
That's insane. That's so crazy.
My gosh.
Yeah, I hope in 2025 that GH gets some new writers or something.
Something they need new
Everybody
writers.
needs their bookers to get it together. Apparently, I guess
It's been rough. They're losing people. Well, they're either writing people off, or they have longtime actors being like, "I don't want to do this anymore. I gotta go."
Yeah, it's
G2P.
like yes, like EP Booker, Frank Valentini, get it together, dude. Get it together.
Please, Frank, we are begging you. Please get it together.
I love it.
Listen, if they're not careful, Pepperman might leave AEW and have to go try to help General Hospital.
She needs to
Because
go back to
Listen,
to
she
one-
came from the soap world. Y'all need
did.
help.
That's right. She came from One Life to Live. She was there. GH might have to lure her away from AEW and Mercedes and be like, please help us. Especially
Please help
because
us.
when it's called The Gates, right?
Yeah,
the
Beyond
new
the
one?
Gates. Yeah, next
Beyond
month.
the
Yeah.
Gates. Okay, I knew it was coming soon. Oh, that makes sense because it'll coincide with Black History Month.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a new soap opera coming around, and I think that they're going to do really well because a lot of people are in the soap opera world it really is very much like wrestling. They are very much they need an alternative.
They're tired of GH's BS and like,
It's
can we
old.
get something? Because they basically want them, like, we want them to make them better. So hopefully competition
Right.
helps them be a better show.
Yes, just like in pro wrestling, we need a new soap opera to come in here and push these soap operas to
Well,
be
those
better.
have been around for all time. They're like staples to the point where
They
it does
are,
actually
but
kill.
it's just-
No, it hurts things because it becomes stale, and because
Well-
old people are in charge of things and don't see the world the same way. It's weird.
They don't know, and some people don't know how to write women.
Oh,
Shocking.
God.
Some people don't know about diversity
What's
or
that?
how to write about diversity. So it's so bless Keela for having to podcast about both wrestling and soap opera.
Yeah, right. You are.
Because bless her for that.
The
Yeah, but I
parallels-
mean, she's so good at like.
the parallels are fascinating because I do
is.
bring in a lot of wrestling into the soap discussion because it's true.
Oh
Yes,
my God,
it's a lot
yeah.
of crossover.
It
So
is.
much.
It is.
I tell
a
people
lot.
that all the time. I really do.
Yeah,
because
and then
it's-
you see like literally how it is because you're fighting for more time for certain people and certain characters and for diversity and for minority characters and like as far not just not minority marginalized is the word I was looking for, marginalized characters and story and being able to properly tell these stories and not what you think they it's a lot. So bless
It's a
Keela
lot.
for having to do 2 podcasts a week that have a lot of overlap.
It does.
a little
That's
too
the
much
crazy
insight into
part.
humanity.
It really is. It's a lot of overlap, but it's a lot of fun. And I just love because like there's like
Yeah, you
fans
said.
that cross over both things and it's a
Yeah.
lot of fun to talk about
Yes.
it. But we just at the end of the day want everything to be better for
Mhm.
soaps and for wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Nikki said when I was in middle school, I would always say wrestling is the violent soap opera.
Yep.
Yes, pretty much.
I call it soap operas I used to call it soap operas for dudes because it was a dude space for a long time, but we've all obviously are making a podcast about it and talking for 4 hours. So I think it's not just a dude space anymore. But
No, but listen, they're
it
not
really
hysterical.
Is.
We
It's
are.
sports soap opera. It's soap
And-
opera sports.
Yes,
Tony Storm has amnesia for Pete's sake.
maybe.
Maybe.
Or as Tony politely puts it, memory recall issues.
Okay.
is
yes.
what he
Yes.
Did you guys see her Insta before we get out of here? Her Insta where she had all of her different Tony times through the years.
Yes.
I missed
It was
that.
so good.
It was so good.
I need to go check it out.
Tony,
then.
the early years, and then she stopped right at Punk Tony, right there. Like, this is me right now. I'm
I need to go
involved
watch
at this
it.
It's
point.
fantastic. It's a whole
I
little
love it.
picture.
I
I
did
was like,
see
oh
the
my
thing-
god, there's like multiple pictures. It's so cute.
I did see the promo she did last week, and it was like the behind the scenes thing, and she's asking everybody to watch her match, and she asked Luther, which was a nice little because we haven't seen Luther since she lost the title, and she's asking all these people, and she walked up, and I was like, wait, that's Luther, and so I rewound it back to make sure, and I was like, no, she went up to Luther and asked him if he watched her match and if she had any suggestions for her.
That's awesome.
It was great.
She's the best.
All right.
All right.
So we are God, it is 5 o'clock, y'all. It is all right. It's gonna be time for Athena's match in Japan if we don't stop. So we really are. We will be here next week at 1 o'clock. We do have a guest next week. Should we tell them who it is or just tell them that they gotta come next week to see our guest?
I mean, that's your call, because if you want to.
All right. Well, you know what? I guess I'll just tell you. So if you are a subscriber here at the Fight Game Media Network on the YouTube, then you will recognize our guest next week, because we have Stephen Conway of Speaking Strong Style coming to talk to us about his trip to Japan, because he was there live for Wrestle Kingdom, Wrestle Dynasty. He also got in some women's shows, and he is coming to talk to us about how just about his trip overall, but specifically about the women's shows and how fans respond to them and seeing it in person versus on a streaming network and things like that. So if you have any questions, please come for that, because he will be here with us next week, and I'm sure we'll have more pyro to talk about. We'll have more stuff. We will also probably have a Janelle Grant lawsuit amendment next week. So
Theoretically,
come for that. And we'll be here next week at 1 o'clock, and probably not going for 4 hours, but you never know.
never say never.
Yeah.
This is wrestling.
This is true.
Thank you, everyone in the stream, and thank you, Keela. And we are going to end this thing. Thank you for hanging in there. We appreciate you so much.